Ready? So, good evening everybody. The setup today is going to give me dizzy, switching from side to side, so I'll apologize for not looking at you constantly. I'll look at you. My name is Alon Anava. B'ezrat Hashem, tonight I'm going to share with you my personal story, how I became religious 15 years ago after I had what's called a near-death experience. 15 years ago, one day, out of the blue, my heart stopped. You're going to hear the story. For about 7 minutes I was not alive. My neshama left my body, went up to the heavens, made a tour, and came back. Now the story is very, very long. So I get right to the point with a very short introduction that I grew up in Israel, and I grew up the most not religious you can imagine. That's how I grew up. And I grew up hating religion, hating God, hating anything that had to do with this. And you know, in our Torah, there's a concept that is called hidur mitzvah. When you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah, and you make it even more beautiful than you're supposed to. This is called lehader ba-mitzvah. So I was mehader ba'averot. If I would have the opportunity to do a sin, I would make sure that I'm doing it with all the right ways, that the pork is the very not kosher, and the best way to do the averah, that's how I would do it. And it might sound funny, but it's not so funny. Better. The point is just to understand how not religious I was. And some of you, I see you got the black card. You can look at the picture, that's the before picture. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this picture is worth 100,000 words. Just my mom is my organizer. She chose a nice picture. Once I used to go with not nice pictures. She used to be like, "Why are you taking such horrible pictures of you?" So this is a normal picture. The point to take from that I was very not religious. And I did everything I could to despite the Torah. Some people, they're not religious, but they don't care. They don't do anything. Some people, they go the extra mile to make sure that they're mocking the Kadosh Baruch Hu and making fun of the Torah. And unfortunately, that's how I grew up. And when I was 23, I left Israel. I came to the United States. I came here to New York. And the whole story happened on a very special day. First of all, it was a Saturday, it was Shabbat. But more than that, it was the 14th day of Nisan, which is the morning of Pesach. It's the morning where you burn the chametz, when everybody goes crazy, when everybody's freaking out a minute before Pesach. That's when it happened. Now, why is it so special? Because when I was a little kid and they told me about Pesach, they told me, listen, 3,000 years ago, the Jews were in Mitzrayim, and they were slaves, and they were carrying bricks and building pyramids. And then came this guy with a very long beard. His name was Moishele. And he did some hocus pocus, and he got everybody out. And since then, we eat matzahs. But I don't really believe in it, because it's not true. It's a fairy tale. And the proof we have that it's a fairy tale is look at the book that we read. It's called Haggadah. Haggadah with the letter Hey is when you tell a story. But Agadah with an Aleph is a fairy tale in Hebrew. So they told me, don't believe in it because it's a fairy tale. So that's how I grew up. But really, why did we celebrate the day? Not because something happened 3,300 years ago. Because on that specific day came down to this world a very godly light, a very special godly light, that allowed the Jews at the time to break out of their limitation. You know, the story says that they were in Egypt. Egypt in Hebrew is Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim comes from the word in Hebrew Meitzar. Meitzar is something that limits you, a limitation. So they were able to leave Mitzrayim, to leave their limitation, and to break out to spiritual freedom. And that day permeated the power for the rest of the generation that any Jew that needs to break out of their Mitzrayim, out of their limitation, has the power to break out of it and to go into spiritual freedom. And that's the day that it happened. Now, the story is very, very long. I'm going to get straight to the point with one special request. Please do not ask questions as I go, because there's a big crowd, and if you're going to ask questions now, we're going to finish at 2 in the morning. And some people want to go to sleep early. Besides the fact that probably half your questions are going to be answered as I speak. Later on, whatever you want to ask questions, we'll stay here. They told me Shacharit is at 5:15, so we have enough time to answer questions. The most important thing to remember and to understand is that I'm going to share mainly the experience itself. But it's almost impossible to explain it. Because everything that I remember like it is if it happened this morning. It's engraved in my memory so strong that I don't need to review the information. The only problem is that it's almost impossible to explain it. Because everything that I saw does not exist in this world. So I have to use my words. It's as difficult to explain to a blind person that was born blind and never saw anything how the color blue looks. So you will tell that person, okay, blue, the sky is blue. Yeah, but I never saw the sky. Okay, the ocean is blue. Yeah, but I never saw the ocean. Now, it doesn't matter how you're going to try to relate and explain the color. He never saw anything. He can't understand what you're saying even. This is almost as difficult as that. To try to explain something that you never saw and to put it into words. So it's very important that you don't take every word that I say and like get fixed on it and say, oh, that's how it is. You have to kind of go with the flow. Now the whole story starts here in New York, Friday night, Erev Shabbat, Erev Pesach. It was right before the day of Pesach, so we went to a party. We called it a Pesach party. You can see by the picture what type of a party. We didn't really play bingo in that party. And towards the end of the night, a friend from the bunch of friends that we were together, passes around this device, this smoking thing, device that you smoke drugs with. And I really didn't know what's in it. And I started feeling very, very sick. But not sick that I have to throw up, or that I'm dizzy, or that I have to faint. I literally felt I'm about to die. Now there was a girl with me in the party. I told her we gotta leave the building. I think I'm about to explode. We left the building. It was somewhere in Manhattan, in the West Side. I felt so bad that all I wanted to do is to go home. We stop a cab. I go into the cab. I sit in the back seat of the car. And there's really no words to describe how I felt, but that I knew I'm about to die. Now a lot of people ask me, what do you mean you knew? How do you know you're about to die? How do you know such a thing? So, first of all, we know, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai explains in the Zohar that 40 days before a person dies, they announce in the heavens, this person is about to die. 30 days before the person is about to die, every day a piece of the tzelem. We have a component in our neshama that is called tzelem. This is a godly figure. This is an external part of the neshama. It doesn't penetrate into the body. Every day one piece leaves. The morning of the death, the neshama leaves the body. A couple minutes before the person dies, the ruach leaves the body, a different component of the neshama. And then seconds before the person dies, the nefesh is very vulnerable because the neshama and the ruach left the body. The nefesh goes into the heart and closes itself, and then the person dies. So that's mystically what happens, how a person knows he's about to die. That's why you see many people before they die, they start saying goodbye to people, they give things away, they start saying all sorts of weird things. But really when people ask me, how did you know you're about to die, is because when you experience something, you know what you're experiencing. If you're hungry, you know you're hungry. If you have a headache, you know you have a headache. You don't need somebody to come and tell you you have a headache. And nobody can come and tell you, you don't look like you have a headache, you look fine. If you feel something and you experience something, you know what you're going through. If you're happy, you know you're happy. You're sad, you know you're sad. You know it. This is what's called in Lashon Kodesh Yediyah. I know. You wake up in the morning, you know who you are. You know where you live. So I knew I'm about to die. It was just obvious. And I'm sitting in the back seat of the car, scared out of my mind, and I'm starting to choke. So I open up the window, thinking maybe some fresh air will make a difference. And I look out the window, and suddenly the whole world froze, like a picture. Like you're looking at a TV, and you click the pause button, and the movie stops. The world froze. Nothing moved. And everywhere that I look, frozen. And my mind is racing 5,000 miles an hour, and all that I can think of is that I'm about to leave this world. I know I'm about to leave this world. And I'm about to meet this famous God that everybody was talking about. And now I have a serious problem, because I'm coming with nothing. I have nothing. Now at that point in my life, physically, I had anything a person would want. I had a very, very big and successful company. I had millions of dollars. Gorgeous car, beautiful home. Anything that you would wish for yourself, that times 1,000 I had. For 3 years I traveled all over the world. I did whatever you could think of. And it was the first time in my life that I realized that everything that I have in this world is worthless. The car is going to stay parked in the driveway. The money is going to stay in the bank. And that's it. And the only thing that I can take with me, I don't have. I don't even have one mitzvah. Not even one mitzvah. And I know that I'm coming empty-handed. Now I'm going to have to stand in front of this famous God and say, why don't I have even a mitzvah? There's no words to describe the fear, because there's no such fear in this world to say, oh, I was afraid like that. And it literally felt like 20 minutes that nothing is moving, the world is frozen, and all that's going on in my mind is what I did in my life. And I felt this unbelievable remorse, unbelievable feeling of regret. Of what did I do? Why did I do that? Why did I have to steal this? Why did I have to cheat here? Why did I have to curse there? No words to describe this remorse, this regret that I messed up my life. And the feeling was so extreme that I only found one way to kind of explain how it felt. Imagine now a person wants to kill himself. Goes and chooses the biggest building in Manhattan, climbs on the roof, takes a look down, takes a deep breath, jumps. Now imagine what's going on in that person's mind the second his feet leave the ground. What did I do? I just killed myself. Now I can't jump back, and I have about a minute before I hit the ground. That's how I felt. What did I do? I just wasted 27 years of my life. Now I can reverse my life, and I have about a minute before I'm out. Now what? Now there's a concept in our Torah that is called tshuva. Tshuva means to repent. Means to do tshuva. I did something bad. I go and say I'm sorry. I give back what I stole. There's a whole process in the tshuva. It's not so simple, but there's a concept that a person chas v'shalom sinned, went away from the Torah, and he does a U-turn and comes back and does tshuva, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu accepts all the balei tshuva. The only problem is that to do tshuva, it's a process. It's not an overnight thing. You have to do a lot of actions. You have to start doing mitzvot. You have to fix all the problems you did in the past. But there's also a concept in our religion that is called hirhur tshuva. Hirhur tshuva meaning is to think of tshuva. For example, you said something wrong to somebody, you hurt that person's feelings, you go home and you're like, why did I say that? I shouldn't have said that. Tomorrow I'm going to call and apologize. You think in your mind, okay, I shouldn't have done that. Now some of the sins that a person can do in this world are so severe that our sages teach us that he loses his place in the world to come. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says in the Zohar, if a person did a second before he leaves this world, he did hirhur tshuva. He thought about tshuva, yesh lo chelek l'olam haba. He has a place in the world to come. So I was sitting in the back seat of the car doing tshuva, thinking in my mind, why did I have to steal that? Why did I have to cheat here? Why did I have to curse that person? Why did I have to do this? I shouldn't have done that. Why I couldn't do this? And for 20 minutes I'm doing an account in my mind. Scared out of my mind, because I don't know where I'm going. And out of nowhere, I don't even know where it came from. I cover my eyes and I say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. But not Hashem, saying Hashem's name. And of course, it's a famous question that I get, if you're so secular, how do you know how to say Shema Yisrael? So the truth was that I was so secular. But the reality is, our sages teach us that when the baby is in the mother's womb for 9 months, stands an angel with the baby and teaches the baby the entire Torah. A second before the baby is ready to come out of the body, the angel tells the baby, come, let me take you on a tour. And he takes the baby on a tour and he tells him, here's the doctor that is about to deliver you. Here's your mom, here's your dad, here's your siblings, here's where you're going to grow up. And he takes him throughout his life. Here's your wife, here's your kids, here's your business. You're going to live here, this is what's going to happen here. Takes a whole tour from day one to the last day. And then he takes the baby to the last day of his life, to the cemetery. And he tells him, you see that plot over there? 17B? That's yours. That's where you're going to end up. Now go out. So the baby says, I don't want to go out. He said, no, you got to go out. The baby's like, Ma pitom, I'm not going out. The angel tells him, you got to go out. It's the time. No, I'm not going to go out. I don't want to go out. It's good here. So the angel pushes him out. Stands the Satan, the devil, right outside, hits him on his mouth, and makes him forget the entire Torah. That's why we have this little mark here on our lip, from the hits that we got. And then we forget the entire Torah, we don't remember nothing. But about a second before the soul is ready to leave the body, you know who shows up? The angel. Hey, how are you? Remember me? We were roommates for 9 months. Remember? And in one shot, the baby remembers everything. It's not a baby anymore, but the person remembers everything. In one shot, everything comes back. So in one shot, everything was clear. I knew everything. I knew where I am, who I am, where I'm going. I knew every little thing. And I knew that I can't do tshuva anymore. Because to do tshuva, you have to do actions. And I knew that tefillin I can't put anymore. And I knew I cannot keep Shabbat anymore. But you know what I can do? I can say Shema Yisrael. That's a mitzvah from the Torah. A man has to say twice a day, Shema Yisrael. It's a mitzvah from the Torah. Besides the fact that when you say Shema Yisrael, the basic explanation is, I give up. You're the boss. There's nobody but you. Echad. Hashem Echad. So I cover my eyes and I say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And the second that I say in the pasuk, I fall down on the girl that's sitting next to me. And it was in a cab in New York, so you know the cabs have this partition between the front and the back. I'm lying on the girl and I see this partition. And I feel I'm leaving my body through my eyes, diving out of my eyes. Like you dive into a pool. Head first. I'm leaving my body, I'm diving out of my eyes, and I wake up in this weird place. I don't see anything, I don't feel anything. All I notice is that there's no sound. Complete silence. Unbelievable silence. The most peaceful, calm, unbelievable feeling you can imagine. And you don't notice how much noise is around us all day long. If you're going to be quiet now for 20 seconds, well, here's a lot of noise. But you hear all the engine from the air conditioning, you hear cars from outside, you hear a motorbike from far away. Even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're in the middle of nowhere in the mountains and all the windows are shut, you still hear some type of a buzz in your ear. There's always sounds around us and we don't notice how much it's bothering us. Turn the sounds off for 5 seconds. Quiet. This was the most amazing silence you can imagine. Mute, dead, no sound. The next thing that I feel, that I have no body. I'm a cloud. I'm air. I'm there, I'm here, I'm there, I'm there, I'm everywhere. And that's another thing we don't even notice, how much our body is limiting us. We don't even notice that. Everywhere you go, you have to carry a sack of bones. I want to go over there, I have to carry with me 200 pounds. I'm like a turtle. We don't even notice that. We're like turtles, we're carrying something with us. We just, it's our body, so we feel it's part of us. But it's not. We're a spirit dressed in a body. And we don't even notice how limiting our body is. I want to lift up my hand. Look at this, 40 pounds, just like that. Everything that I gotta do, I gotta move myself. And I'm feeling that I'm like a cloud. I'm everywhere. I'm floating, weightless. And the third thing that I feel is that there's no time. I don't have a watch on my hand. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to be anywhere. And this is another thing that you don't notice, that our entire life is defined by time. Seconds, minutes, hours, days, a month. Look at your day. You wake up in the morning at 7. I have an appointment at 8. I have a doctor's appointment at 12. I have a class at 1. I have to do this at 4. My entire life is like boxed in time. And even if you go on a vacation and you think that you're not bound to time, no, I still have to have breakfast, and then I have lunch, and then I have a movie, and then I have a trip, and then I have this. And the time always running. You can't stop the time for 1 second. So I'm flying in this place of nothing, no body, no sound, and no time, like this perfect vacation. Now, as all this is happening, which I don't know if it's a second or 2 hours or 1,000 years, I was still having my thoughts. The me was still me. And the thing is that every person has thoughts. Every human being has thoughts that are running in his mind 24/7. Even when you're asleep, your thoughts are running in your mind. Even when you're busy and you're not concentrating, your thoughts are still running in your mind. The Midrash compares our thoughts to a river, the same way that a river constantly flows, that our thoughts are running in our mind 24/7, that they don't stop. Now, if you're busy working, doing things, then you don't concentrate on your thoughts. But if you're by yourself, in the shower, in bed, in traffic, your thoughts are running in your mind. And you have conversations with yourself. Now, if you're American, you think in English. If you're Israeli, you think in Hebrew. Whatever language you grew up with, whatever is your mother tongue, that's the language in your mind. And you have conversations with yourself. And you tell yourself some jokes. And sometimes you tell yourself Lashon Hara. Sometimes you add another person to the argument, and there's a whole argument going on in your mind. Sometimes you tell yourself jokes. But constantly you're talking to yourself. So you have your own thoughts. So I was having my own thoughts, and I was saying to myself, what's going on here? Where am I? How did I get here? What is this place? So this voice is telling me, you're dead. This is your death. You just died. I'm like, what? That's how I die? The voice is telling me, yeah, you're dead. And it's kind of pointing down. Now there wasn't a hand. There wasn't eyes to see the hand. I kind of understood, like a dream. Like in a dream, there's no visions in a dream. You kind of thinking of it. I understood that this voice is telling me to look down. So I look down like this, and I see my body on the girl in the cab, from the height of, like as if I'm stuck here to the ceiling. And I look down and I see everything from above. And this voice is telling me, you died. This is your death. And I'm like, what? That's how the story ends? Just like that? That's the movie of my life? Yeah. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, what? That's how my friends are going to remember me? What, my friends are going to meet? Hey, remember Alon? Yeah, I remember him. Oh, he dropped dead in the back seat of a car. It was the weirdest thought that that's how I end my life. Because the truth is, nobody really thinks of their death. Nobody sits at home and says, I wonder how I'm going to die. Nobody planning their death. Nobody sits at home and says, oh, I want a car accident, please, please. You don't think of your death. And if you're already thinking of your death, you're saying, at least let me die when I'm 90 years old, with like 100 grandkids, and after I achieved all my dreams. And if I chas v'shalom have to die young, then at least give me a good death. Let me jump out of a plane and the parachute is not going to open. Something with action. What is this? It was the weirdest thought that that's how I died. But amazingly, there was no pain, no sorrow, no nothing. I'm hovering over the body, I'm looking down, I see the whole thing. It's like looking at a movie and the hero died. That's it. And the car is driving in Manhattan. And I'm over the car. Wherever the car is going, I'm going. Like a camera, looking what's going on from above. And I feel like something is pulling me up. But very, very slow. Very, very subtle. And the higher I go, the more I see from below. And then happens this weird thing, that I felt that I dived into this girl's body that my body is on. And I dive into her body, and within a split second I see her entire life. From the moment she was born till that day, I'm scanning her life. And it's not that I'm sitting like this and looking at a screen and I see her life. I'm in her body. So whatever she's thinking, I'm thinking. Whatever she sees, I see. She's happy, I'm happy. She's in pain, I'm in pain. And I don't see it like a movie, like going in the sequence of her life, like baby 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thousands of scenes with no connection to each other, simultaneously, and no order in the timeline. And as this is going, I see what's going on in the present. I hear her thoughts. I see what's going on. I feel her anxiety, how she's freaking out. And then I see a little step into the future. And I see her, they're telling my parents in Israel, on the other side of the world, that I died. And I see my parents crying, and I see my sisters crying, and I see like a little step into the future. Now a lot of people tell me, listen, I can somehow relate with the fact that you were hovering over the body and saw what's going on. But how can you see the past of the girl, the present what's going on, and into the future? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So the short explanation of this is that while our soul is in our body, the soul is very limited to the body. So the body is very limited. It can only see from here to the end of the street. And my body can only carry a certain amount of weight. And I'm only going to hear to a certain distance. And I can only live in the present. I cannot see the past. I cannot go back to the past. I cannot go into the future. I'm only living the moment. But that's only because my soul is in a body and the body is very limited. But the second that the soul leaves the body, it's not limited anymore. The soul can stand here and see the other side of the world. The soul can be present and hear 50,000 conversations at the same time with no problem. And the soul can see the past, the present, the future. The soul can go anywhere she wants. So I was able to see this girl's past, this girl's present, what's going on in the future, all at the same time. Now as all this is happening, the car is driving in Manhattan, I'm being like floating up and up and up, and I'm going higher and higher. At some point I'm like the height of like maybe 2 or 3 floors. And the car went under this little overpass. If you know Manhattan a little bit, about 11th Avenue and 17th Street next to the car wash, there's a very low bridge, an old subway bridge. The car goes under this overpass, and I was so high, I went in the bridge. And I suddenly see, I like calling it the graphic design of the world. And I'll tell you what I mean. Imagine now you're looking on a website, and you see a beautiful website. Beautiful colors, beautiful pictures. You click a button, opens a page, click another button, starts playing a video. What would you see if hypothetically you would remove the screen? What would you see? You would see the code that creates the website. Now if you're a programmer, you know what, you understand what you see. Now if you're not a programmer, all you see is a bunch of letters and symbols and nothing makes sense. So if you're looking at it, it doesn't make sense. A programmer could look at the code and understand what this line is going to do. This image, and this line is going to make that color, and this line is going to make this work. But how does it really work? A guy sits down, writes a code with an unknown language, clicks a button, ta-da! Beautiful website. The exact same way, that's how God creates the world. Our sages teach us ba'asara ma'amarot nivra ha'olam. With 10 speeches, the world was created. God talks and He creates the world. Now God doesn't have a mouth. It's just for us to kind of relate with the concept. But we know that God has many different powers. One of the powers is the power of speech. So God creates the world with talking. And we see it quoted in many different verses, but whoever from you will praise every day in the morning shacharit, we say every morning, Baruch she'amar v'haya olam. Bless He that He said, and the world was created. Now how does He do it? The Kadosh Baruch Hu takes 22 sophisticated tools, which are the letters of the Lashon Kodesh, of the holy language of Hebrew, puts them together like a code, like a programmer. Ta-da! Beautiful world. Now a lot of people think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world and then went out for lunch. The reality is that Hashem recreates the world every second. And if Chas v'Shalom, Hashem moves out, there's no world. Everything goes back to where it came from. And we see that also when we pray every day in the morning. It says, "U'v'tovo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshit." Every second He recreates the world. And how does He do it? Hashem injects a certain power into the world, a certain energy. The Ari HaKadosh calls it nefesh, nefesh chaya. And everything in this world has this godly energy that enlivens it. Everything has it. Animals have it, human beings have it, trees, inanimates, everything, this table, everything has a godly power that enlivens it. We just don't see it. But the reality is that if you would remove this screen that creates a filter to the physical world, you would see this godly energy that enlivens everything. And the second that I went into this bridge, everywhere that I looked, all I see is millions and millions of letters. Everywhere I look, I just see letters running everywhere. Millions of the letters. And I'm reading the letters, I'm reading the code, and I understand what I see. Now, not because I'm Israeli and I know Hebrew, because all the souls know only one language. There's only Lashon Kodesh in Shamayim. There's no languages up there. You don't go up to Shamayim with Google Translate. And all the souls know it. So I'm reading the code and I understand what I see exactly like a programmer that doesn't see the end product, just the code. And I'm reading the code and I understand every little thing, and I'm looking at every letter, and every letter is built from endless amount of more letters. And every letter in there is more letters. Maybe some of you are familiar that we know that each letter has a numerical value. Aleph is 1, Bet is 2. But Aleph can also be read as Aleph Lamed Pei. So now the numerical value changed completely. And then there's what's called Tzerufei Otiyot, that you combine letters. Then there's Chilufei Otiyot, that you switch letters. There's all these Gimatriot. I see how every letter is built from Ein Sof, from more letters. And each letter is at one power how God creates the world. And it literally felt like I'm there 50,000 years of endless information. And just on this topic I can sit here another hour and just describe every little thing. But since I want to kind of zoom through it, we're going to go through the end, then later on you can ask me whatever you want. The amazing thing was that how long does it take a car to go under an overpass? Maybe a second and a half. And it literally felt like I'm there for thousands of years. And the car is driving in the streets of Manhattan, and I'm being pulled up and up and up and higher. And at some point I'm the height of like maybe 30 floors. You know, I was like flying over the city of Manhattan like a bird. You know, people pay thousands of dollars to fly over Manhattan. I did it for free. So, the same way how I dived into this girl's body, I feel like the buildings don't have walls. And I'm going through the buildings, like I'm scanning the buildings. And the same way that I see this girl's body and her life, I see thousands of people in these buildings. Thousands. Imagine now you're standing in front of a building in Manhattan, 30 floors. All you see is like a wall with a lot of boxes. All the windows. Now imagine that hypothetically you would remove the wall. You would see in the apartments. You know, like these Barbie, like these little doll houses that you look on the front side. It's like a house. Then you turn it around and you see all the rooms. Kind of like that. And there's no walls. There's no physicality. So I'm going through the buildings and instantly I'm seeing thousands of people and I see in every apartment what's going on. And not only that I see what's going on, every human being that I see, I'm reading their mind. I'm scanning their entire life. I see everything about them. Like as if I'm now in this room sitting and I know all of you at the same time what's going on in your mind. And not only what's going on in your mind, every little detail about you. Where you were born, what's your birthday, what's your mother's name, what's your favorite food, what you had for lunch. Every little detail about every person, like as if I'm going one by one, scanning them from bottom to top, one by one. Simultaneously, hundreds and hundreds of people. Now, I always stop to say a funny story. That when I went to my first date with my wife, I told her this story. Now, I was like 70% religious. She was like 17.5% religious. The rabbi thought it's going to be a good match, puts us together, and we're sitting in a coffee shop, and she tells me, listen, I heard you have this crazy story, how you became religious. So I told her, you want to hear it? I'll tell you. Just that tonight, you're getting the short version. She got the long version. It was a 9-hour date. And a lot of coffees. Now, the next day after the date, she told me later, but she told me that the next day after the date, she threw all her pants away. Now, not that she went cuckoo and started going naked in the street. That's what people think. She changed her wardrobe from pants to skirts. Now, why did I tell you that she was 17.5% religious? Because she grew up here in America, very, very secular. And when she went to college, she met a rabbi on the campus who invited her to a Shabbat meal. Then he invited her to a Pesach party and to a class. And slowly, slowly, he started to bring her closer. And 10 years later, she's sitting in a date in front of me. And she told me, listen, for 10 years, I'm bouncing backwards and forth with this whole religious thing. Now, I believed that there's a God. I believed that there's a creator to the world. And I believed that the Torah is real. And I believed that I have a soul and there's an afterlife. I believed all these things. I knew it. There was only one question that nobody was able to answer me, and that stopped me from becoming observant. And you were able to answer this question. And you know when you answered this question? From the 9-hour date? The part with the building. That was the part that nailed it. And you know what was my question? She tells me, my question was, how can it be that there are about 7 billion people in the world and trillions of animals and creatures? And you want to tell me that God knows me? Can't be. He can't know so many people. So you know what? Let's ignore now all the people in the world. Let's just concentrate on the Jews. Let's just concentrate on the religious Jews. So you want to tell me that on Yom Kippur, 3 million people, give or take, are all in a shul praying, and God can hear 3 million people? No. Can't be. Can't be. He cannot hear 3 million people. I understand He knows the famous ones. But me? Why would He know me? Now, if He doesn't know me, so why should I bother? Why should I be dressed modest? What, He's looking at me? Why should I say a blessing when I put something in my mouth? Does He really care that I say a blessing or not? Why should I do all these things? So I'll be a good person, and I'm not going to steal or lie. And that's it, and leave me alone. But she told me, when you told me that you we're able to see in these buildings hundreds of people, know what they're thinking, know how they're feeling, and know everything about their life. You made me realize how so much more so the master of the universe, the creator of the world, knows every little detail in this world. To a point that a little ant, a fly, doesn't fly across the room without the Kadosh Baruch Hu knows where that fly is and gives the permission for that fly to move. Nothing moves in this world without the permission of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. To a point even the Arizal says a leaf doesn't even turn over without an angel standing next to the leaf and tells the leaf turn over. And an angel above that and an angel above that. Millions and millions of angels are running the system, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu, like a sophisticated computer, is controlling trillions of details every second. And that's just things around the world. So much more so a human being, and alachat kama vekama, so much more so a Jew, that for 1 second in his life stops his day and says, Shakol niya midvaro. You know what happens in Shamayim the second you do that? What? Kadosh Baruch Hu stops his business. What? I can't believe it. He said a blessing. He remembered me. A party in Shamayim. 4th of July, fireworks. He said a blessing. He stopped his day. That's what's going on in Shamayim when you stop for 5 seconds to say a blessing. The master of the universe stops his business to listen to your little blessing. So much more so when you do much more than that. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is next to you 24 hours a day. He doesn't move away from you. You're happy, He's happy with you. You're sad, He's crying with you. You're worried, He doesn't understand why. You do something good, He is full of joy. You do something bad, He's upset. He's next to you. Like as if the world was created just for you. Like as if there's nothing else but you and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And my wife told me, that made me realize, wait a minute, I gotta cover myself, this is embarrassing. He's looking at me. And now I can actually say a blessing when I put something in my mouth. He cares. I can actually pray. And Baruch Hashem, the next day she threw her pants away. And you know what's the funniest part of this story? That 2 weeks later when I asked her to marry me, she agreed. Up until today, she's like, what did I do? Every day this guy disappears, comes home at 3 o'clock in the morning. No, she's happy. From the fact that I come home at 3 o'clock in the morning. No, she's smart. She has 50% of the deal. So Baruch Hashem, up until this point, what I told you now up until this point is really not even a fraction of what I really saw. What I saw, even words cannot even describe. I mean, the biggest producer in Hollywood cannot come up with ideas with what I saw. But up until this point, everything was good, everything was amazing, everything was unbelievable. But within a split second, I feel like something grabs me from behind, and instantly, I'm in this pitch black place. I wake up in this black place, I don't see anything. All I feel is that something is holding me so strong, it literally felt like 100,000 pounds on me, squashing me. Unbelievable pain. It's not a physical pain that I can say, oh, it hurt like a root canal. The spiritual pain of pressure, this unbelievable pressure. And the darkness was so thick, it was literally scary. I know it sounds like childish, afraid of the dark, but it was the most scariest darkness you can imagine. You can't even imagine how scary it is. Now, worse than this, first of all, I don't know where I am. More than that, I don't know how I got there. And worse than that is I don't even know how I'm getting out of there. I'm stuck in this void of darkness, unbelievable pain, and I don't even know if I'm ever getting out of there. Now it feels like the thing that is holding me is pulling me up through a funnel. And the entire walls of the funnel are full of blades. And the more it's pulling me up, it's like ripping pieces out of my neshama. Unbelievable pain. And I'm screaming from pain, and I hear my own screaming, unbelievable, like this horrible noise. And it feels like I'm there, not exaggerating, for thousands of years. Thousands of years of this unbelievable torture. Now I really want to zoom through the story, because just describing this 2,000 years of torture, that's another 5 hours. But we'll get to that later. The point is that At some point, it felt, I'm not exaggerating, like I'm there for thousands of years. Thousands of years of this unbelievable torture and pain and suffering. And it literally felt like I'm being choked. Like something is choking me. I'm being suffocated. Now we don't even notice that that's the most desired and needed thing in our life we have for free, and we don't even notice that we're consuming it. You're taking breaths of air every 2 seconds. Take your air for 5 seconds, you choke. And we don't even notice how the most basic thing in our life is free, and I don't even concentrate on the fact that I'm taking it all the time. But just try to hold your breath for 10 seconds. You choke. You ever saw a person choking? My son, not too long ago, had a big piece of meat, started suffocating on the meat, choking. Our table, Baruch Hashem, is very long. It took me a couple seconds to run from one side to the other side. The few seconds looking in his eyes, the fear of choke, I'm helpless. It literally felt I'm being choked spiritually, that I can't breathe. Now what's the result of being choked? Death. Now the thing is that at some point I kind of realized what's going on. I realized where I am, I realized what's holding me, I realized where I'm going, and I knew I'm going to the worst place in the universe. And the reason why I realized all that is from a very simple reason. Because, not to compare the world above, in this world there are two types of realities. The first reality is called truth. But the other reality in this world is called a lie. And a person can create a lie in this world and nobody will ever know. You can come up with a story, invent some story, and as long as you don't tell it to anybody, nobody knows. And that's the reality. But it only works in this world. In the world above, there's no such a thing. In the world above, there's only one reality. And that reality is called truth. Emet. You can't bend the truth. You can't tell a lie, a little white lie. It's exactly 100% as it is. Emet. Truth. And you can't distort it. And you can't make up anything. The truth is exactly how it is. Here in this world, you can bend the corners a little bit. But don't get used to it, because in Shamayim there's no such a thing. The truth is exactly how it is. Deal with it. So I knew exactly where I am, where I'm going, who is holding me. I knew everything. And I knew that I'm going to the worst place in the universe. And I realized that this feeling of being suffocated is a result from one simple thing. Is that I don't have one little connection to the Master of the universe. Now in Shamayim there's nothing but the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Nothing else can stand for you. No lawyers, no money, no friends, no nothing. En od milvado. There's nothing but the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And I realized that this feeling is only because I don't have a connection to Him. Now Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai explains in the Zohar that from the soul to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, there's a rope that connects the neshama to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the same way that a physical rope is built from many, many thin strings, then the spiritual rope is built from 620 strings, corresponding to the 613 mitzvot that we have in the Torah, and 7 mitzvot that our sages gave us. Now, if a person is a God-fearing person, then all 620 strings are connected. Very good. The Zohar calls it 620 pillars of light. Now, go and do one sin. So you cut one string. And then you do another sin, you cut another string. And then you do another sin, and you cut another one. And then you don't do a positive mitzvah, so you cut another one. And then you start cutting them. So cutting 20, 30, 40, 50 out of 620, it's not that bad. But then you're cutting them more and more and more and more. And at some point, there's nothing barely left from this rope. The problem is that some acts that you can do in this world, one act cuts the entire rope. One act. There are 36 acts that a person can do, 2 are positive acts, 34 are negative acts, that cuts the entire rope. A person who eat a crumb this big of chametz on Pesach, v'nichreta nefesh ha'ih, the whole rope gets cut off. One little crumb like this. A person eats on Yom Kippur, drives on Yom Kippur, works on Yom Kippur, v'nichreta nefesh ha'ih. One little act, a little drop of water. A person desecrates Shabbat, v'nichreta nefesh ha'ih. Half of these acts has nothing to do with us. Has to do with the sacrifices in the Beit HaMikdash and sorcery. But half of them are relating to us. Shabbat, Pesach, Yom Kippur, all the forbidden relations that the Torah prohibits us. Circumcision. One act and a person cuts the entire rope. Now, in the spiritual realm, everything is built through a concept that is called the 10 Sfirot. 10 godly powers that they go in a chain reaction, in a chain level, one after the other. The highest Sfirah is called Keter. Keter is a crown. When a person, chas v'shalom, goes on one of these averot of karet, and the whole rope gets cut off, it cuts off the first 9 Sfirot. But the last Sfirah, the top one, the Sfirah of Keter, doesn't get cut off. That's because Avraham Avinu made a deal with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and he says, you cut the entire rope, but you leave me one, so the Jew can do tshuva. And amazingly, you see that the exact same letters of Karet are the exact same letters of Keter. When a person, chas v'shalom, does an Averah of Karet, he cuts off all 9 Sfirot. There's no connection. A little spark is left. But from the highest Sfirah to reach to Keter, to do tshuva, it's possible. Everything is possible. A person can do tshuva from the worst place that you can imagine. The problem is that a person can do an act in this world and he doesn't feel anything. Nothing. Good or bad. You know, not too long ago came this guy to my Shabbat table and we're having an argument. And he's telling me, where does it say in the Torah I can't turn off the light? Show me in the Torah that I cannot turn off the light on Shabbat. Show me that and I'm going to stop turning on and off the light. And to annoy me, he goes to the wall and he starts turning the light on and off. On, off, on, off, on, off. And he tells me, see? Nothing's happening. Told him he must be suffering from some type of rare disease of stupidity. I told him, let me explain to you what's happening right now. I told him there's a story. They took once 2 soldiers and they put them in a bunker 500 feet under the ground, and they told these 2 soldiers, you see this red button? Don't press it. If you press that red button, the nuclear missiles go off. Don't press this button till we give you an order. Okay? So they're sitting in the bunker. A day passes, 3 days pass, a week pass, a month pass. They're like bored out of their mind. So one soldier tells his friend, hey, let's press the button. Let's see what happens. So he tells him, what, are you out of your mind? They told us not to. They gave us an order. I know, orders, schmorders, who cares? Let's press the button. Let's see what happens. He says, are you out of your mind? They told us that if we press the button, the nuclear missiles are going off. I know, you believe them? You really believe them? Nonsense. Let's press the button. So he convinces him to press the button. So he presses the button. Shh. Quiet. He tells him, you see? Nothing happened. They lied to us. Let's press the other one. They press the other one. Shh. Don't quiet. And they start pressing the buttons. Now they don't notice, they're 500 feet under the ground, they're in the bunker. They don't notice that missiles are flying all over the world and destroying half of the world. But they're in the bunker, they don't hear nothing. So I told this guy, I told him, you are in a bunker. You don't notice now that with the press of a button, nuclear missiles, so to say, in the spiritual world are destroying worlds in the world above. And every press, you're launching a nuclear missile in the spiritual world. The fact that you don't feel it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. That's the point, is that we do certain acts and we don't see the results. People think that you have to see a result right away. Oh, I'll see a result, I'll do it. I mean, people think that they're going to put tefillin on and they're going to start seeing Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. That doesn't work like that. Not too long ago, a young lady came to our Shabbat meal, and my wife told her, "You want to light candles?" So you know what she tells my wife? "Oh, you want to make it romantic?" My wife tells her, "No, we light candles on Erev Shabbat. It's a mitzvah." Okay, so I see the girl lighting the candle, and then I see her looking at the ceiling. So I'm also looking at the ceiling, and I'm like, "What's going on? Is there a leak? What are you looking at the ceiling at?" She's like, "I'm waiting for something to happen." So what do you mean you're waiting for something to happen? She told me, "Your wife just told me that when I light candles, I bring a godly light into the world, and God comes into the world, and all these things happen. I'm waiting for something to happen." I told her, are you serious? For 30 years, you live your life how you live your life? You think now you're going to strike a match and that's it? What do you think is going to happen? You think a check is going to fall out of the ceiling? What are you waiting for? The reality is that people think that they have to get right away a reaction from a certain act that they did. Yeah, after 30 years of doing it, you'll start getting reactions. You can't live your life and then one time do a mitzvah and you think that that's it, right away, nachalav ruach Hashem. It doesn't work like that. Now it works for both good and bad. I mean, you can do a mitzvah, you don't necessarily feel right away what's happening. If you would see with your eyes what happens to you when you put tefillin on, you would faint just from seeing what's happening that moment to your neshama. If you would see physically with your eyes what happens when you do a mitzvah or do a sin, you would faint on the spot. So the point is that we live in a bunker and we don't notice what's going on. So the Torah comes and tells us, don't do this. There's going to be an explosion. Don't do that. There's going to be a problem. Do this. This is good. So unfortunately, the way I lived my life is I lived my life in a way that the entire rope was totally cut off. That's why this feeling that I felt was this unbelievable suffocation. No connection to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is the source of life. There's nothing else in Shamayim but the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And if you don't have a connection to the Master of the universe, you choke. You suffocate. You exist, but in unbelievable suffering. Like a fish that they pull it out of the water. Give it 2-3 seconds and it dies. It has to be in the water. So I realized that this suffering is because I don't have a connection to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And I started screaming to Hashem, help me. Get me out of this. I'll do whatever you want. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. I'll be the best Jew in history. You want a beard? It's going to be till the floor. Whatever you want. I'll go with a black jacket and 40 degrees outside. Whatever you want, I'll do. I'm not exaggerating. It felt like I'm there for 2 billion years of nothing. Of unbelievable suffering in this pitch black place. At some point, after millions and millions of years, I'm not exaggerating, I'm just saying millions and millions so you understand how long it looked, I suddenly see a dot of light. A microscopic dot of light. Now it sounds like a cliche, but it was the light at the end of the tunnel. Can you imagine seeing a little bit of light after 1 billion years of darkness? And I know that if I somehow get to this light, then I'll be saved. And I'm screaming to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, help me, I'll do whatever you want, I'll be the best Jew in history. And this light is coming closer to me and closer to me and closer to me. At some point, everywhere that I looked was this light. Mazal Hashem. So I see this light coming closer to me and closer to me. And everywhere that I look, I see this light. This bright, bright light, white light. And I know that behind this light, with no doubt, is the Master of the universe. There wasn't an if or maybe. I know that behind this bright screen of light is the Master of the universe. And when I look into this light, I see a shape of a triangle. And it literally felt like as if a hand reached out from this light, grabbed me, and sucked me into this light. And I only found one way to describe how it felt. Besides unbelievable pleasure, I only found one way to kind of describe what it felt. Imagine now you take this little piece of metal. See? Now, if this piece of metal is not connected to the internet, then it's a very sophisticated camera. And it has a few games on it and a few other functions. That's it. Now take this little piece of metal and connect it to the internet. Any question you have, any topic you want to know, anything. All you do is you Google it, and within a split second, endless amount of information is in the tip of your hand. Now disconnect this device again back from the internet. It's back to being a sophisticated camera, and that's it. It literally felt like I got connected to some source of information, and instantly all the wisdom of the universe was downloaded into me. Instantly I was a genius. Anything you can just imagine was downloaded. And it felt like unbelievable pleasure. It literally felt like I'm being electrified from pleasure. Like I'm standing and being electrified from this unbelievable information that is not stopping to come. All the secrets of the universe was just given to me. Now, it has nothing to do with this world. Looking back at this world looked like a prehistoric planet. Like two little kids playing with Lego, putting a block above a block, and they get excited because they did a building with 4 blocks. That's how this world looked like. Like we look at our technology and we get all excited because the souls look down at this world and they're like, we look like dinosaurs to the souls. The knowledge was not anything to do with this world. It was this divine, godly information. All the secrets of the world. Everything made sense. Now this information didn't come out one way. It came like in 2 channels. The first channel was that instantly I was a genius. Unbelievable genius. I knew everything. But the second channel was much more interesting. It's like as if I saw a panoramic picture of the world from the day the world was created till the last day. One long panoramic picture. Genius master plan. Everything in the world made sense.
What do the channels look like?
Later on I'll write the question, I'll answer later. But the panoramic picture was this beautiful picture from the entire world, from the day it was created till the end. One long panoramic picture. Genius master plan. Everything that doesn't make sense in the world made sense. Because everything that we looked in this world, nothing makes sense. You're looking in this world, what do you see? Death, diseases, terror attacks, wars, Holocaust, suffering, hardship. Any normal person will say, where's that God that you're talking about? That is supposed to be so nice, torturing us here? Yeah, but you're only seeing one piece of the puzzle. Looking in this world, it's like taking a 300-piece puzzle, spread all the pieces on the table, pick up one piece, now try to figure out the picture. You can't. Even if you have 30 pieces together, you'll never figure out the picture. So you look at this world, and you're holding 2-3 pieces of the puzzle, and you cannot figure out the picture. So you're looking at something like the Holocaust, it doesn't make sense to you. You're looking at a 2-year-old kid dies, doesn't make sense to you. Your life doesn't make sense to you. Why do I have to suffer? Why is this not working out? Why is that not working out? You see one piece of the puzzle, nothing makes sense. And I saw this panoramic picture, this long, long, long picture. Everything made sense. Every detail was connected to another detail. Genius master plan. My mind was blowing away from pleasure, understanding the secrets behind the universe. And as all this is happening, I feel like I'm stuck into a bubble and I can't grab anything. I see it and I understand it, but I'm not part of it. I'm isolated. And as I'm feeling this unbelievable pleasure from seeing everything, I feel the complete opposite of unbelievable torture, that I have nothing to do with it, that I can't even grab it. And it's like as if they're telling me, you have nothing to do here, you gotta go. You can't stay here. And I'm like, no, 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 leave me here. You can't stay here. You have nothing to do here. And I feel like I'm being ripped out of this place, thrown into this huge room. I don't see anything, complete darkness. all I notice is I'm completely naked. Completely naked. I'm standing in this room naked like this. But not naked from clothes. Naked from mitzvot. Our sages teach us that when you do a mitzvah, you sew a garment to your neshama, to your soul. You do another mitzvah, another garment. Another mitzvah, another garment. The same way, if you're looking at a garment in this world, look at the jacket, you have a sleeve and a purpose here and the collar and another sleeve. Every mitzvah sews a piece of a garment that your soul gets dressed in when it goes up to the Shamayim. Now if chas v'shalom, a person does a sin, then he puts a stain on the garment. Do another sin, another stain. Another sin, another stain. Small sin, small stain. Big sin, big stain. Many sins, many stains. Now if the person is smart, comes Yom Kippur, he does tshuva, washes off half the stains. But Yom Kippur only works for a certain amount of averot. A lot of the sins that we do, Yom Kippur doesn't really help. But if a person is not smart, and he didn't do tshuva in this world, then he goes up to Shamayim with all these stains. Then you have to wash it up in the heavenly dry cleaner. That's not such a nice process, to wash off all these stains off the neshama. My problem was that I was completely naked. I didn't even have a mitzvah. I'm standing in this hall completely naked, and I look all around me, and all I see is millions and millions of eyes looking at me. Millions. All the souls of all the Jews of all generations are standing there looking at me. And all the souls are souls of tzaddikim, of righteous people, and I'm the only wicked soul. And everybody's looking at me like, oh, it was you. And I'm so naked that I'm transparent, like a bottle. And they all see through me. Every thought that I ever had, they see it. Every word that came out of my mouth, they know it. Millions of souls, including all of you, are standing there and they see through me. I'm totally transparent. There's no words to describe the shame. Unbelievable shame. I don't know what to do with myself. That everybody knows everything that I ever did in my life. Just imagine the most darkest thoughts you have in your mind, that everybody knows it. And all the things that you do in closed rooms, everybody knows it. And looking at you like, what? That's what you're thinking? I don't know what to do with myself. Worse than that, I feel like the Kadosh Baruch Hu is standing right in front of me. I feel like I'm standing with my head down. You know, when a person is embarrassed, he puts his head down. Now, there wasn't a head, but I felt like I'm with my head down. And I knew that if I lift up my head, I see the Kadosh Baruch Hu. I see the Master of the universe. But I was so embarrassed, I couldn't even lift up my head. Now I didn't think that I'm going to lift up my head and I'm going to find somebody standing with a baseball bat waiting to knock me down. I literally felt like I broke my father's heart. You know how it felt? It felt like the Kadosh Baruch Hu told me, what did you do? What did you do? I sent you down to this world with a list this long of things to do. And a list this long of things not to do. And everything I told you to do, you didn't do. And everything I told you not to do, you did. You messed it up. You didn't even get one. It literally felt like I broke Hashem's heart. I didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't even lift up my head. And I knew they were about to take me to the next room. And I was begging them, please, please, leave me here, don't take me there. Leave me here for eternity. Just don't take me there. Sure enough, they take me to the next room. Now I don't see anything. It's like as if my eyes are covered, but I know I'm in a courtroom. And I know I'm about to be judged now for every little thing that I ever did. And I don't even know where I had the nerve. I look to my left, and I see like battalions, rows of angels, these scary, scary angels. For every sin that I ever did, stands an angel. There's a Mishnah that says that when a person does a sin, he creates himself a prosecutor that goes up to the heavenly court and says, he lied, he stole. But the same Mishnah says that if you do a good deed, a mitzvah, You create yourself a defense attorney. Goes up to the same court and says, well, whoa, relax, he's a good person. Look, he gave charity, he learned Torah, he did this. I don't even know where I had the chutzpah. I look to my right and I see two defense attorneys. One was crippled, the other one was blind. The third didn't want to show up that day. And they're telling me, you want to say something before we start? I'm like, what's to say? Did you see my two crippled attorneys? At this point, they're showing me the movie of my life. They're taking me back to this world, putting me back into my body in a very weird way because I'm in my body, but I see myself. And they're showing me my entire life from the moment I was born. And every little thing is pointed out. Here you stole, here you lied, here you cheated, here you pushed, here you cursed, here you did this, here you did that. And every person that I ever lied to is standing next to me. What? Why? And every person that I ever stole from is standing next to me. What? It was you? How dare you? Screaming at me. And millions of all the souls are standing there, looking at me like, you dared to lie? There's no words to describe the scene, the shame, that millions of souls are standing there seeing exactly what you did. Every person that you ever gossiped against is standing there. What? That's what you thought about me? Every person that you did something wrong is standing right there. Doesn't matter if they're alive or not. When you go to sleep at night, your neshama goes up to Shamayim to testify. Everybody's there. They're showing me a horror movie of 27 years. At some point I'm like, cut it out! I got the point! They're coming and telling me, listen, Habibi, you're like a lost case. So they're trying to be real nice, and they're like, okay, let's see, maybe there's some good things. You must have some good things, no? They took all the good things and put it together. I'm like, okay, let's start reviewing. So when I was 8 days old, my parents circumcised me. Now they didn't ask my permission, they still did it. So they're telling me, listen, it's not even your mitzvah, it's your father's mitzvah. So you were circumcised, we'll give you a mitzvah. And when I was 13 years old, my grandfather took me to Jerusalem, he put tefillin on me. So I'm like, okay, you put tefillin on, we'll give you a mitzvah. And one time $1 fell out of my pocket and a hungry person picked it up, put something in his mouth. Like, okay, we'll give you charity for that one. And one time you helped that person, one time you smiled to that person, one time you did this, one time you did that. They put all the good things together. And they're telling me, listen, Habibi, you're a lost case. You have 99.9999999 bad and 0.0 nothing good. There's nothing to negotiate here. At this point I thought, that's it. I'm going to be now on a skewer and on the way to the mangal. They're telling me, listen, you're really a lost case. But we're going to give you an option. We're going to give you two options. The first option is you go back to the black thing that brought you here. That Malach HaMavet, this angel of death that comes to rip the soul out of the body and to deliver it to the heavenly court, you go back to him. He's going to finish the job. Which that wasn't really an option. Or you go back down to this world. But if you choose to go back down to this world, you have three conditions. The first condition is that you have to live your life like a Jew. Now they're not telling me the definition of a Jew. They're not telling me Sfaradi, Ashkenazi, Breslev, Chabad, Jew. Because in Shamayim all the Jews are the same. We're all the same. And to make sure that I understand what they mean by a Jew, they're showing me my entire life forward, from that day, all the way. And I see myself with this long beard, and then I see my wife, and then I see my wedding, and then I see all my kids, and I see my entire life forward, and they're telling me that's how you have to live your life. And don't come back here after 120 years and say, I didn't know. Nobody told me. You see? These are the rules. You can't bend the rules. You can't add rules. You can't remove rules. You can make up your own rules. These are the rules, and that's how you have to live your life. All the Jews are the same. The second condition is that you have 27 years of debt. So today is your lucky day. From 0 to 13, we giving you a coupon. You can erase everything. From 13 to 27, you have 14 years of debt. So you think to become religious is to put a yarmulke on your head and grow a 2-foot-long beard? No, no, no. You stole, give it back. You insulted somebody, go and apologize. You have a debt to fix. And the third condition is that you have to tell every person down there what you saw up here. You cannot go and live on a mountain in Alaska. Every person you have to tell what you saw up here. Now, I wasn't really in a position of telling them, you know what? Maybe give me a day or two to think about it. Maybe I'll consult my 2 attorneys. Maybe I get a better deal. I'm telling them, where am I standing? When are we starting? When's the next elevator going down? They're telling me, whoa, you got to think about it good. Because you cannot come back here after 120 years and say, I didn't feel like it. It was too hard to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was too hot to go with a black suit in the summer. You're accepting the deal, that's the rules. It literally felt like I'm signing a deal. But there wasn't a contract. There wasn't a pen or a lawyer. It felt like I'm shaking my hands with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the second that I shake my hands with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem pushed me. I felt such an impact, like as if a train hit me. And I hear the Kadosh Baruch Hu telling me, "Ata chayav lachzor b'tshuva." You have to do tshuva. And the second that I feel this impact, the Kadosh Baruch Hu pushes me back into my body, and my eyes open up in this world. And I wake up in a hospital completely out of it. I don't notice what's going on. I see people above me talking to me. I don't hear anything. I don't know what's going on. I'm totally out of it. All that's going on in my mind is that I have to do a mitzvah. That's what's going on in my mind. I have to do a mitzvah. I have to do a mitzvah. Now at this point in my life, I had a friend that started becoming religious. And every day that he would see me, he would tell me, you want to put tefillin on? And I would tell him, no. Every time he would see me, he was like, come put tefillin on. I'm like, no. So in my mind, thinking how I have to do a mitzvah, so I call my friend, Itzik. Now it was Saturday morning. He wasn't that religious. He picks up the phone. So I tell him, Itzik, I need you to come right now. I need to put tefillin on. He's like, what? I told him, Itzik, don't ask any questions. Come now with your tefillin. I got to put tefillin on. So he tells me, you can't. It's Shabbat. I told him, who cares what day is it today? I need to put tefillin on. He's like, Alon, what happened? I told him, Itzik, I told you the questions are at the end. Don't ask any questions. Just come with the tefillin on. So he tells me, Alon, what happened to you? I told him, Itzik, just come. I have to put tefillin on. So he tells me, but you can't. It's Shabbat. I told him, are you becoming technical? Shabbat, not Shabbat. Who cares? A whole year you're trying to put tefillin on me. Now's your chance. And he tells me, Alon, Makara, what happened? I told him, Itzik, I said the questions are at the end. Take me to a synagogue. I got to do something religious. So he tells me, why don't you come tonight? It's Pesach. Do Leil Seder. I said, oh, that sounds very religious. What are we going to do? That night, he takes me here to Borough Park to my first Seder in history. I'm 27 years old and I never celebrated Pesach. He takes me to Borough Park to some Hasidic family. Needless to say that I'm shocked with what's going on there. But my first Pesach that I ever celebrated in my life. Now, 2 weeks passed from that day and I don't remember anything. I don't know what happened. I don't remember one detail. I knew something very weird happened because up until this day, I was a very rough guy. Every word that came out of my mouth was a curse. Somebody would look at me the wrong way, I would beat him up. Like, look at the picture, how I looked. I was like the wrong guy to mess with. Suddenly I'm a nice guy. I go to work. Hi. How are you? So I knew something shifted. 2 weeks passed, I don't remember one thing. One night I'm trying to fall asleep. I'm half asleep, half awake. Suddenly everything that I told you, plus the 99% I didn't tell you, all wakes up in one shot. I wake up in the middle of the night freaking out. I see all these scenes in my mind. The first thing that I do, the girl that was with me in the cab is sleeping next to me. I wake her up in the middle of the night. Now remember in the beginning I told you that I dived into her body and I saw her entire life? I wake her up in the middle of the night and tell me, when you were 6 years old, did this and this ever happen to you? She was like, how do you know? And I told her, when you were 7, that happened to you? Yeah, how do you know? And when you were 8, you lived there and this happened to you? She was like, how do you know? Now I had a serious problem in my mind because I thought I lost it. I thought that I'm out. Because in my mind I was like, this is not normal. But in my real mind I was like, I'm under a deal. I gotta become religious. And I literally thought that I lost my mind. So I asked her another question and another question. Everything that I asked her, she was like, how do you know? Now I didn't want to tell her how do I know, because I was like, if I'm going to tell her how do I know, she's going to think I'm crazy. In fact, I was afraid to tell it to anyone. I was like, if I'm going to tell any normal person what I just told you, you know what would be the reaction? Sit down, relax, put your hands in this white jacket, take this pill, the doctor's coming any minute, just relax. Everything will be okay. Now I was afraid to go to the religious people. I didn't know what religious people think. I grew up seeing a group of people dressed the same, doing all sorts of weird things, swinging chickens over their heads, and I'm going to go to them? They're crazy. I'm not the crazy one. So I didn't know what to do. So I called my friend Nitzik and I told him, Nitzik, how do I become religious? What do I need to do? He tells me, yeah, there's a lot of things to do. I told him, okay, so give me the basics. So he tells me, okay, you gotta eat kosher. So I said, okay, what do we eat? He's like, it's not what you eat, it's what you don't eat. I said, okay, what don't we eat? He's like, well, you can't eat meat and dairy. I was like, that's it? Yeah, no problem, I'll do it. He's like, no, there's more. You can't eat all sorts of animals that you like. I was like, okay, so I'll go on a diet. No problem, that's it? He's like, no, there's more. I told him, okay, what else do we need to do? He's like, you gotta pray. I said, okay, praying? Okay, that sounds like okay. Like, when do we do it? On Yom Kippur? He's like, no, every day. Every day? He's like, yeah, 3 times. 3? 1 is not enough? He's like, yeah. And then he tells me, you gotta put tefillin on. I said, okay, what are we looking at? He's like, you put it in the morning. I was like, how long does it take? He's like, yeah, 5 minutes. I said, okay. How much does it cost? He's like, $200. I was like, okay, so give me 2. And then he tells me, you have to put tzitzit on. And then he tells me, you have to do this, you have to do that. I told him, Itzik, I told you to give me the basics. You don't have to go into details. So I buy a tefillin, I buy a prayer book, I buy a tzitzit, I pack my bags, and I leave New York and I move to Chicago. When nobody knows me, no friends, no parties, no action, no nothing, just me and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now, start becoming religious. How do you become religious when you're 27 years old? So I didn't mind the little things. I was like, I'll do the meat and dairy and I'll put the tefillin on in the morning, no problem. But don't give me the big things. Don't tell me now, keep Shabbat, no more beach, no more dates, no more movies, no more this, no more that. I was like, no. I'll do the meat and dairy and the tefillin. So I would only look for easy things. So one time I opened up the prayer book and I see in microscopic letters this big that when you leave the bathroom, you have to wash your hands with a funny looking cup and then you have to say a blessing. I was like, okay, that sounds pretty easy. I'll do that. So I go and buy this funny looking cup with the handles, and every time I went out of the bathroom, I wash my hands and I say a blessing, Asher Yatzah. Now I was convinced that I'm the tzaddik of the generation. I thought I'm a Rebbe. I was like, nobody in the world washes their hands with a cup and says a bracha. I'm the most religious Jew in the world. One time my friend Itzi comes to visit me and he sees the cup and he tells me, I see you doing Tilat Yadayim. Told him, Itzik, you know what I do? You know what I do? Let me tell you what I do. Every time I go out of the bathroom, I wash my hands with this cup and I say a blessing. So he tells me, that's nothing. You know what the real religious people do? They go to sleep and they put a bucket next to their bed and they put this cup with water next to the bed, and when they wake up in the morning, they don't even put their feet on the ground and they wash their hands. I was like, what? What type of a lunatic will do that? So in my mind I was like, these religious people, they're making these rules up. Doesn't even say in the Torah. So whatever didn't fit well in my mind, I was like, no, that's an invention. So I was only looking for little things. Now at some point I knew I had to keep Shabbat. I mean, Shabbat is the famous one. Everybody knows Shabbat. So I was like, what? How am I going to do it when I'm not going to work? I can't drive. I can't watch TV. No phone. No this. This is abnormal. So I was like, okay, next Shabbat we'll start with the Shabbat. Friday would come and I would be like, no, not this Shabbat. Next Shabbat we'll start. Friday would come, I would be like, no, I didn't mean this one. I meant the following one. And the next Shabbat would come, be like, no, today not so good. Next Shabbat, guarantee, we're starting. So I pushed the Shabbat like maybe 3-4 months. And then I came up with an idea. Now, at the time, I was a very heavy smoker. And when I was a soldier in the army, somebody approached me and he started to makarv me, started doing his outreach. And he was telling me how I have a soul and how there's a Kadosh Baruch Hu and Hashem loves me and all these things. And he came with all these one-liners. And about an hour later I told him, listen, Habibi, you're wasting my time. Leave me alone. I don't want to hear what you have to say. So he tells me, listen, I see that you're a very tough one. I'm just going to tell you one thing. You do with it whatever you want. So he tells me, on Shabbat, you're not allowed to light fire. And on Shabbat, you're not allowed to extinguish fire. So if you must smoke on Shabbat, then at least don't turn your cigarette out. So if you smoke 60 cigarettes a day, then you have 60 less sins. I told him, are you out of your mind? That's your religion? Tell me not to kill. Tell me not to steal. You're telling me not to turn a cigarette out? I thought he's completely crazy. 10 years later, when I had to keep Shabbat, I was like, wait a minute. I just found a loophole. I'm going to smoke. I'm going to finish my cigarette, put it in the ashtray. I keep Shabbat. So I would smoke, put the cigarette in the ashtray. I keep Shabbat. And if somebody would tell me, of course I keep Shabbat. Yeah, but I just saw you driving. Driving is fine. I don't turn out my cigarettes. And in my mind, I keep Shabbat. That's my Shabbat. For 3 months, ani shomer Shabbat, because I don't turn out cigarettes. And if I would turn out a cigarette by mistake, they're sharpening the skewer for me now in Genom. And for 3 months, I do not turn out cigarettes. And then somebody came and told me, listen, you can't watch TV on Shabbat. Every time you flip the channel, it's Chilul Shabbat. I said, no problem. I'm smarter than you. HBO, the whole Shabbat. I don't need to flip the channels. And in my mind, I keep Shabbat. I'm watching TV and I'm like, I'm so religious. I don't flip channels. And then a friend comes and tells me, listen, on Shabbat you got to do Kiddush. So I said, Kiddush? What's Kiddush? He's like, you got to drink wine. Oh, now you're talking? So when a mitzvah came my way, I did it with all my heart. I used to drive 60 miles from where I lived to the north part of Chicago to buy kosher wine. And I used to get so excited. I walked into the supermarket, I thought I'm the most religious Jew in the world because I'm buying kosher food. And I got so excited. I bought a beautiful suit just for Shabbat. And a beautiful tablecloth just for Shabbat. And I would make a beautiful gourmet meal. I bought this beautiful fancy cup. I took the whole thing so serious. I got so excited. And then I would make the meal, do the kiddush, eat the meal, and then go watch a movie. So one time, my friend comes to visit me, and I tell him it's Shabbat. We got to do kiddush. He's like, what? Told him, just sit, say amen, and that's it. So, we do the tablecloth, the fancy wine, the beautiful cup, the suit, the whole thing. And we eat the meal, and after that, we go out to a club. So, 4 o'clock in the morning, we're coming back from the club, and my friend tells me, listen, I hate to tell you that, but you're making a joke out of the whole thing. Told him, why are you saying that? He's like, because either you do Kiddush, and you keep Shabbat, and you stay home. But you can't do Kiddush and then go out to a club. It's kind of making a joke. Tell them, no, you're missing the point. So he tells me, okay, what is the point? I told him, go now to a playground. And now if you're going to see an 8-year-old boy jumping up and down the ladders and doing all the tricks, nobody gets excited because all the 8-year-old boys do the same thing. But if you see now an 11-month-old baby take a step, guarantee within about 15 seconds there are 2,000 pictures on Facebook. Every step of this, he walked, he moved, I can't believe it. Why? Because he's a baby, and that's his first step. Told him, you know what happens right now in Shamayim when I do Kiddush? Let me tell you. The Kadosh Baruch Hu now calls all his angels, come. Look at my little boy. Look what he did. He drove 60 miles to buy kosher wine. I can't believe it. He could have bought the wine in the corner store by the guy. And look what he did. Look at that beautiful meal. And look at that suit. Did you see the cup? Look what he did. He stopped his life for 5 minutes to acknowledge that I exist. To thank me for creating the world. Who cares he went later to a club? It's a baby. He cannot do more than that. But look how much love went into the mitzvah. Look how much money went into the mitzvah. Look how much excitement went into the mitzvah. And I told my friend, I'm a baby. I'm going to keep Shabbat in a year or 2. Now I can't. But if I'm already doing a mitzvah, I'm doing it with all my heart, with all my money, with all the excitement. I do it the perfect way. And in a few months, I will do more mitzvot. Now I can't handle more than this. And I told him, yes, I'm not planning on staying here. I'm planning already to do the ultimate, but I have to take it in my steps. And that's how I lived my life for 2 years. 2 years, every day I would add another thing, and another thing, and another thing. Miraculously, 2 years later, somehow I found myself back in New York, going through a very difficult time. And a friend of mine told me, listen, I know you're going through a hard time. Why don't you come tonight? There's a party in Manhattan, in Esha Torah. It's a kosher party. Come, maybe you'll meet somebody. So he drags me along. I go to the party, Upper West Side to Esha Torah, big room, a whole party going on. And I really didn't feel like being there. Now I felt very awkward just getting up and leaving. So I was sitting like that, putting on a fake smile, pretending like I'm enjoying myself. And then I moved like 1 seat, and then I moved another seat. And slowly I made myself closer to the door. And when the time was right, I looked to the sides, nobody was looking, I ran out. But my intelligence was very, very bad. Instead of running out of the building, I ran into the shul. So I come into the shul, stands a rabbi, long table, maybe 30 people around the table, and the rabbi tells me, come. We're about to start the class. You didn't miss anything. And in my mind, I'm like, how am I getting out of that? And I'm like, no, it's very late. I gotta go home. And the rabbi tells me, come. You didn't miss anything. He puts me next to him, and in my mind, I'm like, great. Now I'm stuck with this guy. Now I never heard Torah in my life. This was my first Torah class in my life. The rabbi opens his mouth, and I was hypnotized. I could not move. I was like, I never heard Torah in my life. And I really had to be somewhere the next day in the morning, and I kept looking at the clock in the wall, and I'm like, I'm never going to get up, but I can't leave. Comes the end of the class, I walk up to the rabbi, and I tell him, you must be some type of a rare genius. How do you know so many things? So he tells me, if you really enjoyed the class, why don't you come next Wednesday? There's another class. I told him, you didn't cover the whole Torah tonight? There's more? He's like, yeah. Sure enough, next Wednesday, I come to his class again, and the next Wednesday, and the next Wednesday. And then I became very friendly with the rabbi. So he tells me, listen, I see you really enjoy what I'm teaching. Why don't you come to my home every Thursday night from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. all night we stay up and we study Zohar, and then we go to a mikveh, and then we pay shacharit and we get ready for Shabbat. Why don't you come and join us? I told him, you know what? That sounds like an amazing idea. I have nothing else to do between 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. every Thursday night. My calendar is totally free. Sure enough, I go to his home, sitting like maybe 10 men, and all night he's teaching Zohar. And all that he's talking about is souls and spirits and demons and spiritual worlds and all sorts of freaky stuff. And everything that he says, I'm like, wait a minute, I remember that. And then he says another thing, and I'm like, I remember that. And then he says another thing, and I'm like, that's not how it looks. So after a couple of these all-nighters, I come to the conclusion and saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe I can tell him what happened to me. So I go up to him and I tell him, listen, something happened to me 2 years ago and I never told it to anyone. And I think you are the candidate. So he tells me, Bakasha, tell me. So I started telling him the story, and he wasn't patient like you. He was like, no. Comes the end of the story. The guy is looking at me with these piercing eyes, screams at me in Hebrew, are you crazy? I'm like, what? Now this guy thinks I'm crazy? He's screaming at me, are you crazy? God did such a miracle and you're not doing anything? He lost it. He rips my shirt out of my pants. You're not wearing tzitzit! You're not wearing tzitzit! What are you doing? You have to go to yeshiva! You have to learn Torah! He freaked out. He freaked out.
What was his name?
Moshe Harizi. The next day, 6 o'clock in the morning, he takes me to Monzi, knocks on the door of the yeshiva, pushes me into the yeshiva. Don't come out of here till I come and get you. I told him, relax. I'm going in. 3 months pass. I'm still waiting for him to come. 3 months pass, I'm totally religious, from the top to the bottom, 100%. I look up to Shamayim. I tell the Father in heaven, first part of the deal, I'm religious. Now comes the second part of the deal. So I go to a big rabbi and I tell him it's very embarrassing, but this is the resume. What do I have to do? So he tells me, okay, whatever you stole, give back. So I'm like, no, seriously, I came for real advice. What do I have to do? He's like, whatever you stole, you have to give back. I told him, are you serious? I don't have it. He's like, what did you steal? I said, okay, let's say I stole this. He's like, how much does it cost? I told him, okay, let's say $100. He's like, okay, so take the $100 and give it back to the person you stole it from. I told him that was 15 years ago. How am I going to find the person? He's like, well, if you can't find the person, then take $100 and give it to a poor person. I told him, are you serious? He's like, yeah. You cheated in business, you owe that person money. Go find that person, you have to give him money. I was like, I don't have money. He's like, okay, so give him payments. Work for him. Do something. He gives me a whole list of things, what I need to do. So, a few months pass. I meet my wife. A few months pass. We get married. A few months pass. We have already a baby. Well, not a few. It was 9 months. Even though my wife would wish it would be a few, but it was 9 months. So, again, I look up to Shamayim. The whole thing. 2 parts of the deal. Now comes the third part. Now start telling it to people. How do you tell it to people? So in the beginning I used to tell it in the yeshiva. And I was the star of the yeshiva. I come to affirm what they're learning. So it was very easy. I had a very good crowd. There was one rabbi in the yeshiva that I would sit with him and I would tell him every piece of the story, and everything I would tell him, he would stop me, go to the bookshelf, pull out the Gemara, open the Gemara and tell me, look, what you're saying is described here. And then I would tell him another thing. He would tell, like, wait a minute, go to the same bookshelf, pull out the Zohar, open up, here, what you're saying is described here. So in the beginning I had a very good crowd. But then I had to tell it to normal people. So I got my first gig somewhere in Brooklyn. in a shul of Israelis, bloodthirsty Israelis. Baruch Hashem, they did not give out tomatoes in the entrance, because if they had what to throw at me, they would use it. The whole night, they're cursing me, screaming at me. You liar! You crazy! Who brought him here? Get him out of here! A whole hour they're bashing me. And in my mind I was like, should I continue? Should I stop? What should I do? And the whole night they're making fun of me, laughing at me. Comes the end of the night, one guy was sitting in the corner, all the way in the corner, sweating the whole night. Comes to me at the end of the lecture, he tells me, I believe every word you said. What do I have to do? I was like, oh, 99 wanted to kill me. One got the point. That's it. So I started going from one shul to another shul, to a home, to a class, to a school, and started telling the story. But I would go and tell a 7-hour lecture till people would fall asleep, and then I would leave. One time, about 6 years ago, something happened that changed everything. My very healthy young brother-in-law goes out for a jog, gets a heart attack, died on the spot. 39-year-old guy. My sister calls me from Israel, tells me the news. I get on a plane, from the plane to the cemetery. I go into the room for the Chevre Kadisha. The body's on the table. My sister's standing and crying. I pull out a book of Tehillim out of my pocket, and I start reading Tehillim. And I'm looking at the book, but from the curiosity, I look at the body. And I look at the book, at the body. Book, body, book. And I'm like, wait a minute. He's on the ceiling. He can hear me. He hears my Tehillim. He knows what I had for breakfast. He knows everything about me. I know who it is. I was on the ceiling. I was hearing everybody's thoughts. I saw everybody. I knew everything about everybody. So he knows everything about me. And he hears my Tehillim. And he sees my sister crying. So where is he now? I know where he is now. Now they're taking him here. And now they're taking him there. And why? I know where he is. And then I realized something. And I realized that there's no point of coming to a lecture and giving you a 7-hour lecture of details and describing every angel how he looks. There's no point to that. I realized a very simple thing. The point is very, very simple. Each and every one of us comes down to this world, and we have right over here an expiration date. The bad news is that you don't know the expiration date. Some people get 90 years, some people get 8 years, some people get 20 years. But we all have an expiration date. And don't think you are the one who doesn't have the expiration date. You are not the one who's going to live till 500. We all have an expiration date. And Bemet, the problem is that you don't know the expiration date. Now the reality is that most people live their life and without any preparation it comes. How many people go into the car, they go to work, they drive home, they go to a movie, car accident, boom, die on the spot. Just like that. How many people just wake up in the morning, they go to work, get a heart attack, died on the spot? Didn't even say goodbye. My brother-in-law was not even 40. He didn't even say goodbye to his wife. The sneakers were still on the floor. He had appointments scheduled for the next day. Now some people are very lucky, they get a notification. And they tell him, you have a disease, you're going to die in 3 months. They see it as a tragedy. They don't realize that they have an opportunity to do tshuva. The point is not to come to a lecture and give you a 7-hour lecture with every little detail of everything that I saw. That's not so important. What's important is how you leave the lecture. Now if you came here to eat pizza and you left this door with no change in your mind, you wasted 2 hours of your life. Besides eating pizza. But if you leave this door and you're saying, wait a minute, maybe this guy is 1% right. Maybe 1% is right. How am I living my life? I'm going to get you in a second. How am I living my life? Am I living my life every day running after the regular things that I run after? Living in some dream? Or am I getting, how they say, my act together? The reality is that the expiration date can hit any second. When it hit me, I was sitting in the back seat of the car with empty hands. I was like, what? They didn't prepare me. They didn't warn me. That's not fair. Ah, not fair. You had 27 years. Now what? Then you have to stand in front of the Master of the Universe and explain why. Now, you know, a lot of places that I go to, the organizer of the event catches me in the door. You know what they tell me? Scare them. Scare them. Tell them they're going to Gehinnom. I'm not joking. So you know what? I have something even more scarier. You know that any second, Mashiach is coming. Any second. It's not a myth. It's not a dream. It's not an invention. Any second Mashiach is coming. The second that Mashiach is coming, they're stopping the clock. Whatever you took, yours. Whatever you missed, you're out. They don't accept Balei Tshuva when Mashiach comes. Now what? And this is a real thing. People think it's an invention. People think it's a myth. Ah, yeah, we heard about it for 2,000 years. No. It's coming any second. Now what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? Every Jew is going to have a meeting with the king. They're going to take you into the king's room and you're going to have a personal encounter. And the king is going to tell you, hello. You'll say hello back. What's your name? Moshe. Where are you from? Brooklyn. He's going to start asking you some questions. And then he's going to tell you the $1 million question. What did you do to make me come faster? Now you better come up with a good answer. You better not come and tell him, I was on Facebook. I was sharing. You don't want to come up with that answer. You want to tell the king, I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I went to pray. I gave tzedakah, I learned Torah. I was helping other Jews. I was doing mitzvot all day long. I was waiting for you to come. I was screaming for you to come. First of all, the reality is that each and every one of us has an expiration date. And you don't know when that's expiration date. And you don't know where you're holding. You did not come down here to this world to spend another hour on Facebook, or to run after another deal, to buy a nicer car, or to go on another vacation. That's not what you came to the world. You were hired by the Master of the Universe to come down to this world and to do something. I mentioned before that each and every one of us has a component to the soul that is called tselem. Our soul is built from 5 components. The highest level of the soul is called yechidah. Yechidah comes from the word in Hebrew yichud. Not yachid. Yachid is one. Yichud is unity. This is what's called chelek elokah, a piece that is connected to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. You can't separate it from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The next level is called chaya. Chaya is called in the terminology of Kabbalah tselem. How it says in Sefer Bereshit, "B'tselem Elokim nivra Adam." In the image of God, the person was created. In this tselem, there are thousands and thousands of godly sparks. The amount of godly sparks that are in the tselem, these are the amount of days you're going to live in this world. So if a person died when he's 60 years old, do 60 times 365 plus the leap years, that's the amount of godly sparks that soul had to fix and to elevate. Now unfortunately, a person can do a lot of sins and kill his life much earlier. And he has to come back in a reincarnation and the whole story. But if you don't elevate the godly spark that you were supposed to do that day, it rolls over for the next day. And then for the next day. And then for the next day. And then people complain that their Avodat Hashem is hard. Yeah, you're carrying a 5-year debt. The point is that every moment of your life is calculated to the second. The point is not to live your life in fear that you're going to cross the street and a semi-trailer is going to wipe you out. That's not the point. The point is not to live in fear. But the point is to value your life. To value every second of your life. To understand what my time is worth. And every second that I'm wasting on nonsense, it's a wasted second that will never come back to me. And this world, there's only two ways to operate. You either do good or you do not good. There's no parv. You can't just say, now I'm parv for 2 minutes. You either do good or you do not good. And every second in this world is calculated. You're going to have to go and give an account at some point. What was I doing with my time? Was I giving out of my time to the community? Was I learning Torah? Was I doing mitzvot? What was I doing? I'm hired here. I'm under a contract. Each and every one of you is under a contract. Before you come down to this world, they make you sign a contract. They give you the description. Now forget about that aspect of it. Look at the positive aspect of that. Every little act that you do in the world, you can't even imagine what type of reward you're going to get in the future. Even though we are taught not to do things in the point of getting a reward. But you know what a reward you get? You know what it means 1 second towards it? 1 second. Not a whole day. 1 second in 80, 90 degrees towards it. You know what it is? If you would know what it is, you would put 5 tzitziot on you. And you wouldn't take it off for 1 second. One little mitzvah, one moment, one less lie. The thing is that we don't value everything. People say, I'm not really observant, so what's the point? Yeah, there is a point. You lie 100 times a day, then tomorrow lie 99 times a day. One time, hold yourself. You know what it means? That one time you're holding yourself not to lie. You can't even imagine what's happening in the heavens for one time that you're holding yourself from sinning. You say Lashon Hara 100 times a day, tomorrow say 99 times a day. One time, hold it. The next day you do it 98 times. The next day 97 times. You can't even imagine what it means one time to hold yourself back. The Nachat Ruach, the joy that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, Baruch Hashem, one time, he shut up. No, we don't value our actions. We think that we're stum. You know what it means? Me sitting down for 5 minutes to learn Torah? I'm not learning it for myself. I'm learning it for the entire world. And we don't value our time. If you would value your time, every second of your day would be busy with the right thing. I have a student, a very young guy. He got diagnosed. They found a tumor in his head. Now he was born into a religious family. He was just never did anything because he didn't feel like it. When the doctors told him that there's a scare that he might have a tumor in his brain, for 3 weeks he was the tzaddik of the generation. 3 times a day, praying like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. All his money was to charity. Every free moment he was reading Tehillim, learning. He went all around Brooklyn apologizing to the whole world. Every second of the day, he was busy. And you know what he told me? If I die, I better come up there with a clean slate, with a lot of mitzvot, because I might die in a few weeks. So I better come up there 100%. And if I want not to die, the only one that can change the decree is only the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So I need to get on his best side now. For 3 weeks he was the tzaddik of the generation. You can't believe how he acted. Baruch Hashem. There was a miracle. Nothing happened. They told him, mistake. It's all good. But he did such a tshuva. He got bumped up to such a level. He realized by himself the value of life. Every second in this life. And you don't have to be super duper extra religious to do that. You just have to realize the point. Now a lot of people look at me and they're telling me, listen, you are fanatic. You crazy. I'm never going to be you. You don't have to be me. I choose to be me. You have to choose to be you. But the truth is that all the Jews are the same. There's no difference between me and you. I have to put tefillin on, you have to put tefillin on. The exact same way. Moshe Rabbeinu used to put tefillin on exactly how I put tefillin. There's no difference between me and you. I have to keep Shabbat, you have to keep Shabbat. I have to eat kosher, you have to eat kosher. There's no difference. I'm not a more special Jew than you. Moshe Rabbeinu used to keep Shabbat exactly how I keep Shabbat. There's no discounts. There's no such a thing that if you're over 65 you get a discount because you're a senior citizen, you don't have to keep Shabbat today. All the Jews are exactly the same. So don't look at me and say, he's religious, he's fanatic. It's not being fanatic. It says in the Torah, I have to do what I have to do, then I have to do it. And there's no difference between me and you. I mean, there's certain things that you can do a little bit more, a little bit extra. Some people do it exactly how you're supposed to do. Some people go beyond the letter of the law, they make it a little bit more. Some people, they cut it to the minimum. Okay, that's your choice. There are different minhagim, fine. But you have a Shulchan Aruch, there's no difference. You're not going to go up to Shamayim and say, no, I had a lot of work, so I didn't have time. Who's asking you if you have time? You don't have time. The thing is that we all have to do the same. Now, if you already choose to do more, that's your decision. When people tell me why you choose to be so fanatic, I have a very good excuse. I'll tell you a quick story. Tell her a quick story and we're going to be done. There was once a king, and this king had an only son that never got married. Finally, the son got engaged, and they made the biggest wedding in history. Everybody in the kingdom got an invitation to the wedding. One guy got an invitation in the mail. Can you imagine how excited he was? Can you imagine getting an invitation from the king? I'm going to be in the palace. He went and bought a new suit and new shoes. He pinned the invitation to the wall every day. He was counting the days. He got so excited that he's going to be in the palace. One other guy got an invitation, but he didn't get an invitation in the mail. He got a personal invitation from an entire entourage of people came to his house to invite him. The second to the king, ministers, generals, you name it, they came to personally invite him. Comes the day of the wedding, the first guy gets all excited, puts on his new suit, puts on his new shoes, a little bit of gel in his hair, puts the invitation in his pocket, and he goes out. And the second he goes out of the building, starts pouring rain. Now he's like, how am I going to get now to the wedding with all this rain? He sees the bus coming down from the main street. He's like, okay, the second the bus comes near the junction, I'm going to run. The bus driver doesn't see him, and he doesn't stop in the station and starts going. And he's like, hey, 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 hey! Starts running after the bus. The wedding, the wedding! And the bus driver just drives off. And he's running after the bus. Stop, 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 the wedding! And he's running like a maniac. He falls into a puddle, gets soaking wet. And he gets out of the puddle, and he's running, and he's running, and he gets soaking wet. It's pouring rain. And the bus drives off. And he's going, and he's not giving up. And on their way, a group of robbers, they come, they beat him up, they rob him, throw him into another puddle. The guy is going through hell. On the other side of town, the guy that got the invitation, a personal invitation, he's not going on a bus. Limousines are lined up in front of his building. Helicopters in the air. Soldiers are guarding him. They're lifting him up very soft into the limousine. 12 o'clock at night, the wet guy finally arrives at the wedding. The gates are already closed. The guard's stopping. Can we help you? He's already arriving, soaking wet, gushing blood. He tells them, yes, I'm invited to the wedding. So the guards tell him, can we see your invitation, please? He pulls his hand into his jacket. He pulls out the invitation. It's so soaking wet, there's nothing left of it. So the guards tell him, we're very sorry. We can't accept this. We need to see an invitation. He tells them, invitation, shma invitation. Look in your list. I'm telling you I'm invited. I'm on the list. They're telling him, no, we need an invitation. He's telling him, are you out of your mind? Are you telling me I'm not coming in? They're like, no, no invitation. You're not coming in. He's like, you know what I went through? You know what I went through to come to this wedding? Look at me. I'm soaking wet. I'm gushing blood. I was robbed. I was mugged. I'm starving. I didn't eat nothing all day long. Let me in. You're telling me you're hungry? No problem. One of the guards goes into the kitchen, comes out with a big plate of sushi and a bottle of 7-Up. Tells him, here, eat, sit down, relax. He's like, no, you got to let me in. I'm telling you, I'm invited to the wedding. you're not coming into the wedding. He's looking through the gates to see inside. Maybe he knows somebody. Maybe somebody can pull some strings. I'm getting in. He looks all the way to the end. He sees the king sitting on the stage. Next to the king is his son and the bride. And right over here is the guy who came with the limousine. And he tells the guards, guys, let me in. I'm telling you, I'm invited. You're not coming in. So the story comes to teach us a very simple thing. Our sages say, Kol Israel yesh lahem chelek la'olam haba. All the Jews have a place in the world to come. We are all invited to the wedding. All of us. The question is, how is going to be the journey to the wedding? And when you finally get to the wedding, where are you going to be? Are you going to be inside? Are you going to be next to the king? Or are you going to be outside, wet, with a plate of sushi? So I choose to be next to the king. I want my journey to be first class. I'm not going on a bus. I want my journey to be first class. And when I get there, I'm sitting next to the king. Because this wedding is an internal wedding. It's not an 8-hour wedding. This is a wedding for eternity. I'm next to the king. I don't want to be in the crowd with the hors d'oeuvres and the sausage covered with the pastry. I don't want to be that. I'm next to the king. So some people say, I'm fine just being in. Just let me in, I'm good. So you choose where you want to be. You want to be next to the king. You want to be just hovering in the hall. Or you want to be outside. I mean, you're going to get there. Everybody gets there. You choose how's your path going to be. And don't think that the path is a little thing. The path to get to the wedding can also be very bumpy. So when people look at me and tell me, you're a fanatic, fine. Let me be fanatic for 70 years. Because my eternity, I'm necessarily be next to the king. And way before that, when Mashiach is going to come, I'm going to be first line. You know when Mashiach is going to come, we're going to go to Bet HaMikdash. You're going to see the Kohanim doing the Korbanot. I want to be first line. I want to be first in line when Moshe Rabbeinu spritzes us the special water, the Mei Chatat. I want to be first in line. I want to see it with my eyes. So every second of my life is devoted to the king. Because every second that I'm here, I'm hired by the king. If I'm wasting my time, I got to give an account to the king. Why am I wasting my time? Forget about the benefit that I get from that. The more I do in this world, my closeness to the Kadosh Baruch Hu in the world to come is greater. So every second of this day of my life is devoted to the king. I breathe the Kadosh Baruch Hu, I eat the Kadosh Baruch Hu, everything is the Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's nothing else. There's no other reality. And the reality is that we are now literally counting already the minutes and the seconds of the countdown when Mashiach is coming. This is not a joke. If you think it's a myth or something else, it's not. It's any second can happen. And if you're looking at this world and you see the world, how the world is evolving, and you can't see that the world is going into the toilet, and the only one who can get the world back in shape is only Mashiach, then you're living a lie. If you think that Donald Trump is going to change something, you're living a lie. I'm not joking. People think, oh no, Trump is going to make everything good over back again. Nothing's going to be good till Mashiach is going to come. Not security-wise, not economy, not anything. Right now, everybody in the world has a rope around their throat. Everybody. Every human being now is suffering from something. Don't look at somebody else and say, no, he's good, he has a perfect life, he has a lot of money. Every Jew in the world is dealing now with something hard. Whether they have problems with money, with finding their other half, with getting pregnant, with shlom bayit, with sicknesses, with debts. Everybody. Shem is pushing everybody to a wall. So you start screaming to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, bring Mashiach. Donald Trump is not going to solve the problems. He's just going to bring more problems. I don't think he's going to even get to that point. I'm not joking. I'm saying it in a funny way. But people live their life like, yeah, everything's going to be fine. In 5 years, when I finish my degree and the business, the new startup works out, I'll start keeping Shabbat. You might only have 2-3 weeks. And no human being but Mashiach is going to change the reality of the world. And the world is becoming worse and worse and worse and worse. And if you don't see it with your physical eyes, then you got to make a reality check. Just look at the world. Forget about the Kadosh Baruch Hu for 1 second. Put the Torah aside for 1 second. Chas v'shalom. Just look at the world. So the reality is that the time is ticking, and every moment is a very, very important moment. Now, if you leave this door tonight and nothing changed, you wasted 2 hours of your life, and you had good pizza. That's it. I don't know if it's good. But if you want to be smart, then you leave this door tonight, and even before you leave this door tonight, you already say bracha achona. And when you leave this door tonight, you're saying, what am I doing tonight? Did I pray Arvit? No, I'm going to pray in Minyan now. I'm going to say Kriyat Shema al Amita. Tomorrow in the morning, first thing in the morning, I'm doing the bucket. I'm doing the bucket. I'm doing the hand, the washing. I'm saying Birkat HaShachar. It takes exactly 3.5 minutes. What am I doing tomorrow? What can I handle tomorrow? What can I start removing? Okay, I'm a liar. Tomorrow I'm not lying 50% of my lies. I'm cutting my lies. Have a problem with we're looking with the wrong place? Tomorrow I'm reducing it. If you're not taking an action and if you're not changing something, you wasted your time. You didn't waste my time. You're wasting your own time. You're going to sit at home and do something better. The point is, if you're not leaving this door tonight a completely different person, I'm sorry to tell you, you wasted your time. But if you leave the door and you're saying, okay, how am I changing tonight? You might be the one who brings the Geula. Might be you. Might be you. Don't laugh. You might be the one. You showing up tomorrow to the minyan, you might bring the Geula. I'm not joking. Everybody thinks of themselves, oh, I'm nothing, let the rabbis do it. No. Each and every one of us is a diamond. You might be the one that brings the redemption. I'm not joking. You're looking at me like I'm a nutcase. I'm not. You have to wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, maybe I'm the one. Maybe if today I'm going to read 10 minutes of Tehillim, or maybe today I'll help another person, or maybe today I'll do this or that. Maybe I'm that Jew that will tilt the whole world into Kaf Zchut. And I'm not joking with you. That is the reality. 1 minute. So I see you already falling asleep. The point is very, very simple. You have an auspicious time, an opportunity to change the world. And the reality is that you didn't come here tonight because you got an email or a flyer or a WhatsApp. You came here tonight because you were invited by the heavenly court. The Beis Din of Shamayim had a list with names. She's coming, he's coming, he's coming. You know how many people wanted to come and they couldn't come? They couldn't find a babysitter. They had a previous engagement. They couldn't find a ride. The boss didn't let them go. There was an invitation list from Shamayim. From Shamayim, they made it possible for each and one of you to be here. Why? Because they're like, okay, they're going to get now a free coupon. You know that I lived in this country for 18 years. A year ago, I had the zchut to do aliyah, to go back to Eretz Israel. 18 years I lived here. And I couldn't figure out one weird thing in this country. Every holiday, there's a sale. 4th of July, 80% off. Memorial Day, 90% off. Veterans Day, 50% off. Why? Why can't you give me a sale on August 22nd? Why today? Oh, today is a very auspicious time. It's a holiday, so we want you to spend money. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu also gives sales. Every now and then he gives an auspicious time. This is called an Et Ratzon. You're getting a freebie, 90% off. Tonight is an Et Ratzon. The heavenly court decided that each and every one of you will come here tonight to listen what I have to say, to give you an opportunity. Whether you grab it or whether you're letting it go. Now it's in your hands. So it's in your hands to go out tonight with the coupon. I'm giving you now 90% of coupon. And it's in the hands of each and every one of you to say, I'm tonight changing my life. And maybe I'm the one who's going to get the first handshake from the king, Melech HaMashiach, to thank me for bringing the redemption. And trust me, you want the Geula. You don't even know what you're missing. We don't even know if we would know what we're missing, you would be all day long running up and down making sure that the redemption is coming. All the problems are going to be solved. So B'ezrat Hashem, I'm going to wish you great success in your new path. And I'm going to wish you great success in everything that you choose to do. And Hashem is going to bless you with all the good things that you wish for yourself. And the most important thing is to bemet, I'm not saying it's tam, that you take every second of your life serious. And you really derive the most out of it. Because every little thing that you do in this world is valuable. And I can leave you with at least one very important thing, is everything that you do in this world, it echoes in eternity. You do good in this world, it will echo in eternity. Good. Chas v'shalom, you do the opposite of good, that's what's going to echo. So you choose to do just good. This is what's going to echo in eternity. B'ezrat Hashem, wish you great success and atzlacha and everything. Thank you very much for your patience. If you want to interrogate me.
Before we get the first question, there's something here that actually had a near-death experience also, and he would like to share if that's okay for like 3 minutes. Is that everyone's okay?
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו בעולם שהכל נהיה בדברו.
I don't know if you remember me, but over there by Chabad of Seabreeze. Yeah, my name is Alex. So going back to the story of the wedding, 2 years ago, 2 weeks before my wedding, I decided to go to the dermatologist office, and what should have been a routine procedure actually turned out to be quite an experience that by no means was as extensive as Rabbi Anava's, but a lot of the things that he described, I also experienced when I experienced clinical death. So I guess technically speaking, I was just getting some skin tags removed on my neck, and the doctor, she happened to inject lidocaine, which is an anesthetic, into an artery, which caused my my heart to just immediately stop. And I physically, I know that she was doing CPR, but at the moment that it happened, within a split second, I felt myself almost, almost as if I was drifting to sleep, but it didn't happen over a period of 2-3 minutes. It happened instantaneously. Like Rabbi Anava was describing, I actually felt my soul leave my body. In that experience, I also remember there being a lot of light, and I know that I came across the souls of my grandparents who passed away a long time ago. And just like Rabbi Anava was mentioning, I was communicating with them, but not through speech, through like a soulful connection that's really hard to describe. I mean, I guess the best way to describe it is this might be quite a stretch, but like if you have a couple of glasses of wine and you have that like warm sensation in your chest, that's I don't know what would equate to the feeling of communication that I had with the souls of my grandparents. Through that connection, at some point, it was established that I had to go back because there were people that were counting on me here, also in a split second, I felt myself waking up, but it was the kind of waking up as if it was from a dream. And actually, the first words that I said to the doctor that was on top of me doing CPR is, "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to fall asleep." And of course, she was in panic mode, and she said, "No, you didn't fall asleep. Paramedics are actually coming up the stairs." Sure enough, there was an ambulance already downstairs, and guys were coming up. So I must have been out for, at the very least, 5 minutes. A lot of the things that Rabbi Anava said, just definitely taken into account. It's something that others have experienced, thousands, if not more, other cases, and everyone's experience, is in their recounting of it is, there are similarities that you just can't make up. It just, yeah. Although it was a scary experience, I guess reflecting back on it, definitely glad that it happened because, definitely confirmed the reality for me that, that we do have souls and there is Hashem and there is life after this physical world, beyond this physical world. So I just wanted to share that. My wife is here. She got the phone call when I was in Coney Island Hospital. She was surprised. But yeah, I guess, in taking that experience, it did open us up to the fact that, there's much more than this physical world, and that we should, try to accomplish as much as we can that, the things that Rabbi Anava talked about in order to make this world and our lives better.
Anyone else had any other questions?
If anybody has any questions for the rabbi, please feel free.
Before we do questions, I just want to add one thing, because probably a lot of the questions that you might have, and we're not going to get to it. If you want, I have online hundreds of videos. Hundreds of videos. We have CDs here? In a few minutes he's going to get it from the car. You can take whatever CDs you want, but if you want to get much more information, anywhere you're going to pause, you'll find my shiurim. It's on YouTube, on iTunes, on SoundCloud, anywhere you're going to go. Because tonight, even if we sit here for a couple hours, there's not enough information that we can cover. So B'ezrat Hashem is going to get from the car CDs. You can take, they're all free. And Bemet, do yourself a favor. And there's so much online information. Then Baruch Hashem, we made it accessible in any platform that you want. Then you can listen to it. And B'ezrat Hashem, I'll try to get to all your questions. Try not to interrogate me and give the opportunity for other people to ask questions. A lot of people kind of take it as a personal session. Try to do one question. I'll try to do the answer quick. And Bemet, try to be respectful for others. It's very hard for me to cut people short. And for the respect of both sides, we'll do one east wing, one west wing. So, B'ezrat Hashem. Yes?
How long ago did this happen to you?
15 years ago.
And what were the two channels? Can you describe them? The two channels you spoke about?
Okay, I'm going to repeat the question because probably that's I didn't hear. First she was asking how long ago it happened 15 and a half years ago. A little bit less than 15 and a half. In Pesach, 15 years ago. But the channels, she was asking what are the channels that I saw. It's not that I saw a channel. I'm using the word channel to explain how information is being transferred. So in this world, if I want to transfer information, it will go through some type of a channel. Whether it will be audio, whether it will be video, whether it will be radio, doesn't matter what. It's a path how information does, how I can transfer information. So the information was transferred, I call it two channels. One channel was just abundance of information that I just got. The other channel, it was just seeing the world through a picture. A very large, wide picture of the entire scene of the world. But it's not that a channel looked like something. There wasn't any vision. It was literally like he was trying to explain. There's no visions. It's more like a dream. It's more than a feeling. In Hebrew they say hasaga, that you grasp something. When you can now close your eyes and think of something, you're not there, you're not holding it, but you understand it. It's kind of like a dream, but 1,000,000 times more magnified. Okay, yes?
There's two questions. First one,
two for the price of one.
Yeah, so the first one, I have to go to school. So I'm not entry level, obviously. I learned everything, but I don't see ambition. Reason being, because I doubt there's a world to come. Not that I doubt. The way they teach us is, I don't know about if we don't believe. However, watch Quran science, I watch stops at the court of heaven. It all stops when we hear the interrogation of the back and forth from the angel. No. I did look into it, but nobody gave proof. Nobody went into beyond that to explain the world to come. Now, the reason being I have to ask this question is I I see this world injustice, complete injustice. The way the Rasha'im succeed in life, the way somebody can either go down, up, like, back and forth, how life is. Usually the righteous people suffer in this world, and the Rasha'im succeed. And in general, you don't see this divine supervision to really set things in order again, and the best answer, the best response we always have in the court of heaven, everything's adjusted, everything's, you see the next world, the Rasha'im will go to Gehinnom or something, and something can go to heaven. However, we don't have proof. There's no exact proof beyond anybody, and also it's also based on somebody else's story. I did not die to come back to life and experience this tremendous upheaval to then say, wait, I just went through it, so now, you know what, it's 100% for me. I'm based on somebody else's experience that I should now, after everything I see the injustice in this world, and now dedicate my entire life to Torah. I do that, but I dedicate me with full passion, full capacity. But what I'm trying to explain is that I'm right now gambling. Right now, like we say, the best skill wager, they say. Best skill wager, he said, well, if you're happy now in this world, you do what you have to do, and you die, you find out the truth. Or if you're doing the right path, then if there's heaven, then for sure you inherit it. So that's how a lot of people like to base on the best skill wager. And obviously learn Torah and everything, but I want to know, in your experience, where was the proof when you're going through it that there is a world to come? Beyond, the true emet world that we all trying to achieve.
The thing is like this. Did you hear the question?
Yes.
I'll repeat it.
No.
First of all, your answer is about a 5-hour answer. So, but I'm going to try to minimize it and then also leave you with some questions. First of all, if the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give you a proof for something, He would give you. Kadosh Baruch Hu is not consulting you if to give you a proof or not to give you a proof. That's first of all. Hashem tells you, you have to do it. Hashem, if He wanted Hashem to give you a proof, Hashem would already come up with the proof. But He doesn't. There's a reason for that. Second of all, do you believe in the Torah? No. Do you believe?
No, knowledge.
No. Do you believe in the Torah?
What do you mean?
Do you believe there's a Kadosh Baruch Hu?
There's a creator.
No. Do you believe that there's a God?
Yes.
Okay.
That's an obvious thing.
No. Hold on. If you believe that there's a God, then you believe that the Torah was given by this God?
Yes.
Okay. So you already passed the main obstacle. So in the Torah, it has all the answers. If you didn't get the answers, it means you didn't look into the Torah the right way. The Torah is not a storybook that tells you that Moses did something and Noah built an ark and whatever. The Torah is coded. The Torah cannot be explained with reading it once and saying, okay, I didn't get anything in it. The Torah is so coded with so many layers that in order to understand that, your learning of the Torah has to be in depth. People learn Torah for 40 years and they still don't understand anything. But that's one thing. I'm trying to give you a very short answer to a very long answer. But first of all, when somebody doesn't seize the emet in the Torah, I'm not saying you in particular, it's because they didn't look the right way. And you can go now and tell me, I want to be the best marketer in the world. And I found a course online that I pay $1,000, they teach me all the tricks. And you pay the money, you go to the course, you come out of the course, you're like, I don't know what to sell even. It's a fraud. They didn't teach me right. Same thing with the Torah. You can go to one place, and whoever's going to give you the information is not going to give you the information right. The fact that a person has a yarmulke and a beard doesn't mean that he knows how to give the information. And the person himself can be a genius in the Torah. If he doesn't know how to deliver the information, then it doesn't mean that the information is not correct. Because I know people that are geniuses in the Torah. Try to get them to explain to you something, they don't know how to explain it well. To take a very deep concept and to give it into somebody else, it's mamash art. So the only thing I can tell you that if you really believe in the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and you believe the Torah is real, then you have to go to the place where you actually will get the truth out of it, because all the truth in the Torah. Now, one of the first things that the Torah teaches you is that you have to serve Hashem for the sake of Hashem, not for Olam Haba. It's not about Olam Haba. Do you know there's a story with the Baal Shem Tov, that the Baal Shem Tov had such a high level of Ruach HaKodesh. You know the Arizal? Every time a person will come to ask him a question, an angel will come before that person and tell him, that person is about to come to you, that's the answer. That's how it worked. Now the Baal Shem Tov had close to that level of Ruach HaKodesh. And there's a story that one time, the Baal Shem Tov was traveling and he found himself in Turkey. And there was a guy who knew about the Baal Shem Tov and he wanted a bracha, and he went and looked for him. And B'ashgacha Pratit, there's a whole story. I'm giving you just the point of the story. This person walks into the room and the Baal Shem Tov tells him, Mazal Tov, you're going to have a son. He got very excited. The Baal Shem Tov gave him a bracha. Came out a heavenly voice and told the Baal Shem Tov, you just lost your entire world to come. Because this man was a decree that he's not going to have a child. Now you are a tzaddik, and you said he's going to have a child. The tzaddik gozer, Kadosh Baruch Hu mekayem. The tzaddik says the Kadosh Baruch Hu has to do it. Now he's going to have a child, and he went against the heavenly court. You just lost your world to come. So the Baal Shem Tov just started dancing and screaming from joy and getting all excited. So I told him, why are you so happy? He says, now I don't have a Olam Haba. Now I can really serve Hashem the right way. So a second later came another heavenly voice and said, this is your attitude, now your Olam Haba is going to be double. The point is that the Torah teaches you the first thing, don't do anything because there's going to be Olam Haba. You serve Hashem l'shem shamayim, because Hashem told you to serve Hashem, and you don't ask questions. You serve Hashem there's many ways how we have a relationship to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. A father and a son, a teacher and a student, a king and a slave. So in this respect, the Kadosh Baruch Hu tells you, these are my rules, do them, don't ask questions. You know, when they ask the Kadosh Baruch Hu, why we do korbanot, why we do sacrifices, you ever read the details of the sacrifices? It sounds like a very barbaric ritual. Men are cutting animals into pieces and taking their intestines out and taking blood and squirting it everywhere and burning the intestines and burning this part. If you read the details, it sounds like a barbaric act. There's nothing spiritual that sounds there. They asked the Kadosh Baruch Hu, why are you asking us to do sacrifices? The Kadosh Baruch Hu answers, She'amarti v'nesa retzoni, that I said and my will was done. Don't ask questions. The point is that we have to follow the Torah in a very, I don't know the word in English, in Hebrew it's called bitul, to be a nullified to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Not to ask questions. You know why we don't have answers? Because the box here cannot contain the answer. You know that 99% of what I remember from my experience, I don't share it because the mouth cannot pronounce it. The head, the brain, cannot accept it. That's why the tzaddikim, the nevi'im, the prophets, you read how they write. Take now any one of the books of the prophets. Take the book of Yechezkel. You don't know what he's talking about. Because in his mind, he sees a vision. Now he has to translate it into words. So he's writing things that doesn't make sense to you even. And it'll never make sense to you. The Torah is so broad that doesn't matter what you're going to do. You'll never understand it. And not you, me, anyone. The human mind will never understand it. So don't even try to understand it. Now the Torah is not based on Olam Haba. The Torah is based, if you already want to see what's the future, the Torah is based on Yemot HaMashiach, not Olam Haba. We have to work in this world to bring the days of Mashiach. If you look at Sefer Bereshit, the world was created, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. First Hashem created the world. You know what's the next pasuk? והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו וחושך על פני תהום ורוח אלוקים מרחפת על פני המים. In this verse, the second verse in the Torah, it's talking about the 4 exiles. ורוח אלוקים מרחפת על פני המים, that's רוחו של Mashiach, that's the spirit of Mashiach. The world was created for the coming of Mashiach, not for Olam Haba. Olam Haba is a totally different thing. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't know what's Olam Haba. You know that? Nobody knows what's Olam Haba. Because we're not going to be able to handle what's Olam Haba Bechlal. So you're not going to even find an answer. So you can choose now, to say I'm gambling here. It's nothing to do with the gamble. Because Kadosh Baruch Hu, with His will, brought you to this world. With His will, He can take you away from this world. He can do whatever He wants. The second that we have some type of existence, what is called an ego, a yeshut, I'm something, then you're nothing. Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Ramban says, Ba'apo mashpil geim. He's in 1 second, He's going to make you this small. If He wants, He's going to make you whatever He wants. You can't look at the world and judge the world and saying the Rashaim, they succeeding, the Tzaddikim suffering. That's exactly what I said before, that I saw this picture. You're now seeing 3-4 pieces of the puzzle, and you're trying to put the pieces together and to make sense, and you're saying the Rashaim are suffering. First of all, how do you know he's a Rasha? Because he's desecrating Shabbat? Maybe he's giving millions of dollars to orphans and feeding yeshivas and everything, and nobody knows about it. Maybe in home, he's the most honest husband in the world. This doesn't mean anything. This doesn't mean anything. I know men that you're going to look at them, no yarmulke, no beard, no nothing. Not one word of lie will come out of their mouth. Never cheat on their wife. Never look in the wrong place. How do you know who's a Rasha, who's a Tzaddik? I know people with long beards, they're more ashamed than you can imagine. The external part means nothing. The cheshbonot of Shamayim is only for the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So you can't point at a person and say, oh, he's a Rasha. How do you know? We don't have the right to point on anyone and say he's a tzaddik, he's a rasha. That's only for the Kadosh Baruch Hu to decide. You don't know the Yetzer Hara that person has right now, that he's doing a certain act, to point a finger and say he's a rasha. We're not allowed to do that. You're allowed to say, oh, now he's doing these acts and maybe he's considered a rasha. How do you know? The Arizal says that we all come back here in reincarnations. The Arizal says that each and every one of us has the exact same opportunities. So one time you're going to be rich, one time you're going to be poor, one time you're going to this. Everybody has the same thing. That there's not going to be one soul that goes up to Shamayim and says to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, why didn't I get the same chance he got? So we're all equal. It just comes in a different cycle. So it's a very wrong attitude to look at anyone and say, he's a tzaddik, it's not fair. He's a rasha, it's not fair. The cheshbonot is only for the Kadosh Baruch Hu, because we don't know what's behind anything. And don't worry. Don't worry, because each and every one, the Kadosh Baruch Hu has a whole cheshbon with him. And you don't want to look at a person and say he's a rasha, because basically what you're doing is you're putting on yourself the exact same energy. If I'm looking now at a person and says he's doing this and that and he's a wicked person, I'm arousing the exact same energy on myself that somebody else will be on me saying he's a rasha. Why would I even want to do that? Our sages teach us that you have to have a good eye to everybody. Moshe Rabbeinu, the biggest prophet in history. You know why he was the biggest prophet in history? Because he had the biggest level of midat anava, of being humble. He was so humble that he considered himself so nothing that he was able to reach to the level of the highest prophecy that anyone will ever reach. Even Mashiach is not going to be a greater prophet than Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu would talk to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. All the other prophets got their prophecy when they were sleeping. Why? Moshe Rabbeinu was humble. You know what's the real midat anava? When Korach came to Moshe and told him, who are you pretending to be? You're fake. You're giving the jobs to your family. Who made you king? He came and started arguing against him. Now you know what would be the reaction that Moshe Rabbeinu should be? Who do you think you are? Who are you talking to? I'm the king. Did you see what I did? I took the Jews out of Mitzrayim. I split the ocean. How dare you talk to me? That you would expect to be a reaction. You know what Moshe Rabbeinu did? The Torah says, "Ve'ipol al panav vayev." He fell on his face and started crying. Because Moshe Rabbeinu says, maybe he's right. Maybe Korach is right. Maybe I did something wrong. That's midat anava. He didn't consider himself such a great person. So we have to be in that level that I look at another person, I don't see that he's a rasha. I see that I have problems. If I see something negative in somebody, it's because I have that problem in me. Because the real way to do it is to look at another person and see only the good in him, and if I see something bad in him, is to judge him lekaf zchut. Maybe he is having a very hard time now. Maybe he has a lot of problems right now. Maybe he has a yetzer hara, from here to Coney Island. How do I know? So you can't make assumptions in this world. It's a very, very bad attitude. Now the reason why I tell you that, the answer is much more longer, but my best suggestion is, bemet, I'm not saying chas v'shalom you did the job wrong, but I suggest you learn the Torah even more thorough, because the Torah has all the answers. And when you really dig to the depth of the Torah, the answers you're going to get are very, very simple, and you're not going to be occupied by your olam haba. You're going to be occupied by your olam hazeh. Olam haba is, it's for olam haba. I don't know what's waiting for me. Good, bad, I don't know. I work 100% annul to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It says in the Torah that I have to keep Shabbat. I keep Shabbat. I don't ask questions. If I get something, I don't get something. Who cares? I got a commandment. I'm nothing. Hashem blinks and I disappear from the existence even. So I believe in the Torah 100%. And I believe the Kadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah. So I follow every little detail in it. I don't care right now if I get a reward, I don't get a reward, I go to Gehenom, I go to Gan Eden. It's not in my hands. If I have to go, okay, that's what the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants. I don't know. I have all the answers for you, but I can't put them into words, because your mind, and it's not you, it's everybody. The mind is not a vessel to hold this information. That's why when the Kadosh Baruch Hu came down on Har Sinai and he revealed himself, they all died on the spot. On the spot. Millions of Jews, parcha nishmatam, their soul left their body. They had a clinical death. They couldn't sustain this godly revelation. So God doesn't want you to understand it. The point is that you have to be an eved here. You have to be a slave to the Torah in a positive way. You know what it is, what a kavod, what an honor it is to be the slave to the master of the universe? The point is not to think of what's waiting the next day, is what am I doing here? Hashem already put me here. Let me make the best out of it. Don't worry about anything around you. Don't judge other people. Don't look at people. He's a tzaddik, he's a rasha. It's not our business. It's really not our business. My point is to look straight at myself, how I am. Am I a tzaddik? Am I a rasha? Ooh, I'm a big rasha. I can make a list every day of all the bad things that I do. So I can hold myself as a rasha too. But that's not the point. The Torah is not teaching you that hold yourself as a tzaddik, hold yourself as a rasha, plan your vacation in Olam Haba. The Torah tells you, be humble and serve Hashem for the sake of Shamayim. L'shem Shamayim. Don't ask for too many things, and you do it humbly. Now, the more you humble yourself, the more you're willing to accept the truth, Hashem will just give it to you. I know people that learn Torah for 40 years. They have a problem. They have a lot of gava because they finished the Shas 2 times, or they know a whole Masechet off by heart, or whatever. They have, I did it. So the Torah is worthless, because what kind of a Torah you have if you have pride? The more you humble yourself, it's going to be given to you, and then everything is going to make sense. Now, if you reach to a block that you're not agreeing with the Torah for some reason, then the problem is only in you, not in the Torah. The problem is that you didn't reach to the point that you're able to untie the knot, that you still have questions. And my suggestion is to find the right rabbi that will give you that information, because out there are very nice rabbis out there, but a lot of them don't know how to deliver the information. And the Torah is so deep. Just to read the parasha, and that doesn't cut it. More than that, there are many things around that one can do that prevents the person from losing the ability to believe. Now, when a person does a lot of averot, or certain averot, it creates a klipa. Klipa is a negative energy. You can do a certain sin right now, it surrounds your neshama with a negative energy, like a shield. And that will cause the person to lose his level of emunah. So I know people, they pray every day, they put tefillin, they do many other things, but they do one little sin, they open one little gap. The Yetzer Hara comes in there, and you know what he does? Cools you down. There are many different types of klipot. One of the klipot, the famous one, is called Amalek. Amalek is not only a nation, it's a klipa. And this is the klipa that cools you down. And it puts doubt in you. Amalek, the gimatria, is the word safek, doubt. And you know what Amalek does? It grabs you by the neck. And you know why the neck? Because you have here a very big head, like a balloon, with all your intelligence is here, your mochin. And then you have the body full of midot, full of attributes. And then a little stick, a little pipe here, that it goes up and down. Amalek comes and chokes your neck, so your intelligence doesn't go into your body, into your heart, into your midot. So you can learn the Torah, it stays up here, it doesn't go down. And you know what he does? He cools you down. He right away injects these doubts in you. It's not real. It's fake. There's no Alon Anava. But why? Because you open a little gap for him to come in. So that's why the Torah first tells you, first of all, Sur Merah. Sur Merah, first of all, do all the mitzvot lo taseh, the negative mitzvot. You make all these fences. Then Aseh Tov. Sur Merah Aseh Tov. First you have to block everything, so you're not going to have any negative energy coming into you. Then you'll see that by default you're already losing all these doubts, all these disbeliefs, all these questions. So I can tell you, just as a secondary answer, if you have doubts and disbeliefs in the Torah, the problem is only you. I'm not saying in a negative way. I'm just telling you that you have to make an analogy. Where are you having a leak? That this klipa is coming and cooling you down. Because you know what this klipa is going to do? You're going to leave this door tonight, and tomorrow morning he's going to tell you, another nutcase. Don't believe him. Nonsense. Don't believe. And he's going to convince you. So you want to make sure that you are holy and you are guarding your camp. By default, you're not going to have doubts and disbeliefs. That's the problem with most of the people, that their camp, let's call it, is not pure, because they look in the wrong place, they eat the wrong thing, they do all sorts of things that it causes this klipa to come and cool them down, and then they lose their koach of emunah, the power of belief. So they read the Torah, no, I don't believe it. Or it stays here and it doesn't go down. So you have to make a real good analogy with the right advice, and you'll see that you'll find all the answers. You just have to do a more thorough job.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
We'll get to you in a second. No.
אדוני חפש זמן צדקו יגיד תורה וידיר קדש מרבה יעמד יברא כמותיו ויעמד כמותיו וישמח וחלב וקרב לשכם
אמן
וחי יבוא וכול וחי יבוא מישראל בחקדה וזמן קריב יבוא אמן
אמן ישמרה במבורה
מתנשא מתעדה מתערב נלש ושאב לבוא לא ילה מכל ברכתה אשר אתה תתחלת ועמד בכל אמן על ישראל ברמדאן והתלמידות והכל תלמידי תלמידות תעסקים בו והייתה כתשתה דיבתרה התל ודיבוך ונצר ואתר ילנה ובאות ובכל כנה וכיסא ומעט ברחמי מקדם הרע שמעיה והרב ימו אמן יש לנו רב חיים וסברה ושועה ונחמה ושזוהר רפואה כלום סליחה וכפרה ורחמת צללה וכל עמו ישראל וימו אמן עושה שלום וברכה וכו ברחמם יעשה שלום אדיר והכל עמו ישראל וימו אמן. We're going to take a short break if you want to grab a slice or a drink, and then we're going to pray our Hadith. We're going to pray if we stay.
We're doing it now?
Yes. 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes?
5 minutes break.
Rabbi Alon Anava, I just wanted to ask you, what is the tool that you learned over the years to overcome